This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to what can only be described as the perfect start to a sunrise safari. The sun has just come up. It is a beautiful early winter's day, and we already have fresh lion tracks, which is a wonderful way to start. My name is Tristan. On camera, I've got BK, and it is wonderful to have you all with us. It's so nice to be back. It's been a long time since I've been at Djuma, so nice to be back and nice to have you all on board for the ride. Now, of course, we are coming to you live, which means we would love to hear from all of you, particularly the kids this morning. So remember that you can email your question to kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. Now, I was saying that we have fresh tracks, and so what we've got here is lion tracks. Now, this is tracks for 2 male lions. We have the 2 evoker males, and the reason why I know that it's the evokers is if you have a look at these tracks, particularly the one on the right-hand side, what you'll notice is, if we have a look here, this is obviously the foot, but there is a very sort of, well, it's not easy to see, but if you have a look on the edges here, there is a sort of scrape that goes forward. Now, one of the evokers, it's quite distinct in his tracks, is he has this limp, and so he drags his foot, and that pulls sand forward from the front of the track, and so you can work out exactly which guys these are. The other one is walking on the other side of the road. They were calling pretty much all through last night, so we're going to try and see if they're still around. I suspect, though, that they have headed westwards towards where the Nkuhumas have their buffalo kill. So I'm not sure they'll still be around, but we're going to try and kind of follow and have a little bit of a look and see what's going on. And even if they have crossed out, it's just so nice to be back on the reserve and be back in the bush after being cooped up for the last 8 weeks in my home not far from here. It's nice to be actually out and about and being able to be tracking things like lions and such. Now, I believe a lot of you are saying welcome back. Thank you very much. It's really nice to be back, and hopefully it's going to be a busy few days. There's tracks for a female leopard as well here, so it might be quite nice. I'm just going to try and see if I can get the size comparison between these male lions and this female leopard quickly. Seems like it was obviously a busy night here on this particular road, but what we're going to do is we're going to just jump off quickly, and I'll show you where the leopard track is. Vulture access has obviously been a popular place during the course of the night. Sorry, BK, I'm going to grab a piece of grass because it's much easier to do it with a piece of grass. I didn't really select the right piece, which is pretty typical of the way things go. But what I'm going to do is show you the leopard track. Is this one too close, BK, or can you get this one? You can get it. All right, so that's the track for a female leopard. She obviously was walking along this road last night. Now, which female this is difficult to say. Louise said she heard a leopard calling last night or early this morning, so it could be Shadulu, maybe Tlalamba. Both of them would walk in this section. But what I'm going to do is use this piece of grass as a little measure and show you. Oh, that worked out quite nicely. I didn't even need my second piece of grass. Where's a nice big lion track? This one over here. All right, so what we're going to do is show you just how much larger a lion track actually is. So that's basically, if you excuse this little leaf that's coming off the grass, that would be the sort of circular shape of a female leopard track. And you can see this lion, which is the back foot, that's the front foot of the leopard, so it's not the greatest comparison, but this back foot here you can see is much longer. This is where the lion track ends and starts, so it's almost double the length and much wider, and that's how we know the difference between leopard and lion tracks. But what we'll do, I think, is follow the lion tracks quickly, see where they go, and then if we have no luck, we'll come back to the leopard track and try and figure out where they went. They seem to have crossed into the block to the north here, so we'll go up and we'll maybe check Gallagher's shortcut, see if they pop out that side. All right, so while I go and have a little look around, let's send you across to Lauren, who apparently is gazing on a beautiful sunrise.
Good morning, good morning. We are just watching this male herd his females into one area as the sun is slowly coming up over the horizon there. What a magnificent morning. My game drive radio is now going off, as it always does at the wrong time. My name is Lauren. I do have Davi. That was Davi's thumb that you just saw there. Yes, it belongs to a human called Davi, who is operating the camera today. And of course, Tristan is back. It's been a long time coming, everyone. I'm sure many of you are very, very happy. And those of you who have never seen Tristan before, well, now you have. He's a long-standing member of this team, and it is fantastic to have him back. Hello, Mr. Impala. Yes, you have done very well with this large herd of females. Very well. Not all male Impala have large herds like you do. And of course, before I forget, welcome on board, everyone. We have families... Excuse you. We have families joining from all around the world. My hometown UK, USA, Brazil, Canada, Italy, and Singapore on this chilly morning. Now, I think it's the lowest temperature I've heard in a while. 12 degrees Celsius and 54 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's chilly. And we have started half an hour later this morning. The sunrise safari has now changed times, which is good for us. We get to sleep a little bit longer. But I'm not sure about you all. I guess it depends where in the world you are. Oh, this boy is mighty fine. He's so handsome. Even Davi admired how handsome he was. So he's done very well with these females. He's got a lot of females herded here, so he's a dominant territorial male. And Tristan told you about some lion tracks that we had walking right past our camp. And I think this is why all the Impalas are down here. We are down on Twin Dams Road. And I think they came here because there was a lion at some point walking past quarantine. Now, this male is going to have to be dominant. He's going to have to be loud. He's going to have to be vocal. And very soon, these females will come into estrus. His behavior will cause them to come into estrus, which means he will get lots of mating opportunities soon. And I'm sure he's very excited about that. His neck is nice and thick. He's an older Impala. The necks get thicker with the rise in testosterone. He's got very tall, long horns, which means he's much older. He's experienced. And he's just basking in this gorgeous golden glow. This is golden hour in the morning. Isn't it beautiful? I'm very happy the sun is also rising. It's getting warmer for us. So as we bumble somewhere very special today, we are going to send you all the way across to andBeyond in Ngala to say good morning to Nikki.
Southernmost thicket. Good morning to all the kids that are tuning in for the live. So I'm here, and Impala and me is joining the morning. Is finishing up this and hopefully as well. My good morning. We would think because it's early part of the morning, we'll try and see if there's any signs of leopard or possibly lion. And as soon as it starts warming up from there, we'll look for herds of buffalo, elephants, maybe some giraffe, and some of the common animals that we could possibly see on the drive. If we do find a nice spot at some point, I'll definitely like to pull out the map and show you some of the areas that we're going to be driving in. But I think for this morning, it's a quite cool morning. Have a little blanket over my legs. The sun is just about to show its face. And hopefully we can, as I said, hopefully we're lucky this morning. There's a beautiful open area coming up in front of us. And often with these open areas, especially at night on cold days, you find some of the wildebeest, maybe Impala or zebra, that would go in those open areas because they're very vulnerable, especially if there's predators around. So they want to get in a nice open area where they can scan, make sure there's no danger at all. And then from there, probably spend the night. So I can't see anything as of yet, but we're going to carry on with our drive and see if there's any signs. So I'd love to hear from the kids this morning. What are some of the animals that you are hoping to see? So please send us a message, an email. So I heard a lot of the viewers are looking at us as well, saying that it is cold. It is pretty cold this morning. I'm not going to lie. I can actually feel it on my hands as well. It's like when it doesn't want to work. But it is a beautiful morning. So hopefully what we're hoping for is, because we are starting our drives a little bit later on, that it would warm up and we'll probably see a bit more animals, because of the fact that it's not as cold and the drives carry on a little bit longer in the day. So we might not see too many animals early on in the morning. You just never know, but as it warms up, I'm sure we'll probably be able to see a bit more. But you'll see now we are slowly starting to drive almost like towards the sun. It's a beautiful sunrise. I know you've seen it with Lauren this morning. So I think for now, while we're carrying on with our search, we'll let you know if we find anything. Let's head across to Lauren with her Impala.
I'm still with this herd of females. It's too beautiful a moment to leave. The grass is still so long here. We were actually talking about the seasons and the change in the vegetation last night with Tristan. And he commented in other areas it's very barren. It's the peak of winter and there's no greenery. Djuma had the highest rainfall, or at least the northern sector of the Sabi Sands had a very high sort of water content in the environment, and that's why it's so lush. And therefore it's going to take longer to lose this. But here, the grass is still long in this particular area, which the predators can still very much use to their advantage because they can sneak through the long grass. Winter is more challenging because the visibility is much further. Molly, you're asking a great question and you're 14 years old. Yes, in this situation, because it's rutting season, the rutting season is upon us, where the males become very, very vocal and it's time to mate. The males will mate with the female. It's a bit of a process. So there is only one male here with all his ladies. But normally, when rutting season is over, this temporary harem, a harem is what we call it, will dissolve. And all will go back to normal, Molly. And the males will mix with other males. They'll be friends. The females will join up with all the males. And you will find large mixed herds. But right now, it's a very special season for impalas. And we call it the rut. So this male is acting, slightly mad, shall we say. He's got lots of hormones pumping in his veins, and he's managed to gather this small herd of females. But he's trying to be very dominant over them, and he's sheepdog herding them into a small herd. But this will all change. Once rutting season is over, it will all change. It will all go back to normal. You see him doing the flaming grimace? He's smelling the females. He's keeping very good tabs on these females. Gabriel, you're 11 years old from the United Kingdom, and you're asking about Impala tongues. Wow, I do wonder why you want to know that, but you do. I think they're pink. A darkish pink, but I am just going to check because I'm not entirely sure. I'm pretty sure they're pink. Yes, I think they're a sort of darkish pink. Not as pink as ours, but they are slightly darker in colour. And that was a fantastic question, Gabriel. Thank you very much. So we're heading north now to a certain leopard's den, and as we do that, we're going to send you back across to Tristan.
Well, we are slowly kind of heading northwest, so I mean we're not kind of close to where Lauren is, but we're also heading in a northwesterly direction, and the reason why is the leopard tracks that we had for a female leopard kind of went in a northwesterly direction. They've cut through the block on my right hand side, and so while the tracks are kind of heading away from where we are, I'm just looping around because there's a big game path that these leopards often like to take. Hukumuri uses it a lot, Tingana used to use it, and Shadulu Siseka, Kara, they all sort of sit on those tracks sometimes and use it and go through towards Sandy Patch. So I'm going to try and shoot around and kind of cut down the amount of time that we're spending. The lion tracks go straight west towards Samambili. So that's not going to be something that we can carry on following. So I think the boys have already gone and found themselves a nice little buffalo meal. But hopefully this leopardess, whoever it may be, has decided to stick around. It's so nice though to be back out and following leopard tracks. It's my absolute favorite thing to be doing, is to be on a leopard track and kind of following it through, especially now in the more wintry months when the roads and tracks become soft and sandy. It makes tracking a lot easier. So nice to kind of be doing it again. And Djuma looks very different to the last time that I was here. When I was last year was in end of Feb, beginning of March, and it was still very lush and very green, and you can see that kind of wintry feel is starting to take effect, and the grass is starting to die back and turn that beautiful sort of golden color. Particularly when the sun rises, you get this beautiful kind of gold that shimmers through the grass. So it's really, really good to be back out here, that's for sure. Exactly, Emma. Emma is in final control. She's saying that the light this morning is very, very, very pretty. It is indeed. I thought I saw a track here, so I'm just quickly checking. Indeed, I did see a track. You can see sometimes how tricky tracks can be to see. If I just pull to the right here a little bit, or to the left a little bit further, on this side of the road, kind of coming down on this track here, you can see it's a mess of little dots and sort of markings, and that's because all the impalas that spend time on this open clearing. But right in the middle of it, over there, come to the left a little bit, BK, there, where my finger is, there is a female leopard track right in amongst all of it. So that's the track that we're looking for. I'm pretty sure it's the same track that we're following. The game path that I was talking about is just north of where we are. So I suspect she came out on the game path and then has walked here and has started to go kind of to the west, which is not great news because the boundary is very, very close by. And so it's very possible that they could have already crossed out. But let's just double check. I just want to make sure that these are the right tracks, because at the moment there are lots of leopards walking around and I haven't been here for quite a while. So I've just got to kind of work out exactly tracks are fresher and where people have been driving. Molly, I'm afraid not. Leopards and lions don't get along at all. Unfortunately for leopards, because they're smaller than lions, they generally get bullied by the lions, and if lions come across a leopard and they can actually catch them, then they will kill them. So a leopard is very scared of lions and will try its utmost to get away from lions and to try and not be anywhere near them. In saying that though, there has been reported cases in the past lion cubs, so they're not very friendly towards one another at all, and the reason for that is because sides are dangerous to each other and to their offspring. The same kind of things, they all eat meat, and so they compete and will go after each other. There's some impalas. Have you seen a leopard? They certainly all seem like they're listening, don't they? They've got their ears all kind of pointed towards us. But no, the fact that they are eating means that I doubt a leopard has walked past here in the last little bit. I think we're going to have to follow tracks a little bit further. But I see those tracks have come out on a game path, and I was going north on here, so I don't know if she's been going up and down or if those other tracks we saw are a little bit older, but we'll kind of investigate in this area. And while we investigate in this area, we're going to send you northwards to andBeyond Ngala and Nikki, who's having a look at the sunrise just like Lauren was earlier.
So welcome back everyone. So we just like on our one particular road we started driving near the river, we found this herd of elephants. Now I know we can only see the back part of this one. We're going to focus to where the sun's actually coming up at the moment, and just below the one tree there's actually quite a few other elephants. We're going to try and see if we can get a little bit closer and see them. You can just see the back of the one moving now past the trees. Just notice that very dark grey color, and then you can just see that golden rim of the sunlight on its back. It's so beautiful this morning. So look, looks like a young elephant, just judging by the size. But if there's another one that comes into the open, and I'll let you know. But how's that sun and that elephant? What I might just do, because I know he is disappearing there, just give me 2 seconds just to move the vehicle slightly forward, and then hopefully we can get a slightly better view. No guarantee though, but let's just give it, you got to risk it for the, oh look, sorry, there's a baby elephant. Look at that size. Owen, are you in the gap from here? See where the little tree is down at the bottom, like almost towards where the sun is coming up. Okay, from that one go right, and then down at the base there. Little elephant. So we'll just have to give him a couple of minutes and see if he comes out. I don't know if everyone can hear, but you can just hear how they're breaking the branches, just grabbing a bit of the leaves, pulling it off, and then putting it into their mouth. You can even hear the little one tussling or just moving his trunk in the grass, and you can just hear the grass moving. So give it a couple of minutes. I don't know if everyone can hear, like while we're listening to the elephants, there's a little bird that's singing it sounds like a little rhyme. It goes like, it says 3 blind mice. It's called the chin spot batis. Little bird. I'll show after the elephants. I'll probably try and see if I can show everyone a picture of the little bird. But often early in the morning is when we hear the chin spot batis. I think we might get a slightly better gap. Sorry, before we spotted the little one, there is a slightly better gap down here. So what I'm going to ask is just bear with me. It's going to take me 2 seconds. Okay, so Owen, tell me if you got a view there, and then I'll try and... Okay. Is that all right? What about this one here? Oh, okay, let me do this for you. So we're just trying to reposition in such a way that we can see this elephant a little bit better. Now, if we give it some time, remember that little calf we saw earlier? Imagine if we can see that calf coming into the open. Just trying to see if that calf is still around. Can't see. But I can definitely see the branches moving behind. So let's just go back to this elephant. Sophia and Fiona, I would say up to around about 60 years, especially here at andBeyond and Ngala, or this whole area. Normally, like that's the age we estimate them at. It could be a little bit less, it could be a little bit more, but you're probably going to be looking at 60 years. Look at the babies coming out. How small is he? See this, the bigger one is just slightly turning around, and let's look at that golden color on the rump of this elephant. Even look on the head. Do you notice all the leaves on top of the head? So as this elephant was feeding in the tree, like all the probably some of the looser leaves like fell onto its head. Now sometimes if you look out for Impala, possibly Kudu or Ngala, you'll find them following the elephants. Because as the elephants are moving and disturbing the trees and picking some of the leaves, it falls onto the ground, and it's leaves that they can normally not get to. And these elephants, or the Ngala, Impala, possibly Kudu, will then go and pick up those leaves from the ground. Now we can't see that little one anymore because it's moved off to the back, but what I'm hoping for is just in front of us here, you'll see there's a little gap in the road. So we're going to go through a drainage line. So drainage line is just like an old riverbed. And once we get to the top, there's quite a big herd on the other side. So let's just give it a go. So you'll see there's a little gap right in front of us here. So we're going to slowly go through here. So while we're going to go and try and get another view, let's head across to Lauren.
Also find some ellies today. There's lots of ellies around and they are just being so wonderful to us. We had a jumping baby elephant yesterday. I don't know why it was jumping, but it was trying really hard to lift all 4 feet off the ground at the one time. It started by lifting the front 2, and then by the end, it was trying to get all 4 feet off the ground. I don't know why, but it's the first jumping baby elephant I have ever seen. We tried to record it as much as possible because, of course, James was live with Tandi's cubs. He did very well yesterday, and that's where I am headed right now. So I'm just going to go really slowly and check the area just in case, and then we're slowly going to go into the den to see if our queen Tandi is there and her cubbies, her 2 little young puppies. They might be hidden from view and they also might not be there, so we're just going to check. We are going to explore and see. I have to say, the insect life has already changed so much. Hardly see any butterflies fluttering. The golden orbweb spiders are slowly but surely disappearing. I just want to check these tracks. I think it's hyena. Yes, it's hyena. So we had a lot of people around the table last night for dinner. Our crew is getting bigger, and Swazi joined us. What was that, Emma? Can you repeat that question? Nico, with elephants, it's a big investment to have a baby. They are pregnant, if you like, for 22 months. That's almost 2 years. It's one of the longest gestation periods in the animal kingdom, but not the longest. But within the mammals, it's a very, very long time. Very long time to have a baby in the womb. And they only have one calf at a time because it's such a big investment, and the baby elephant is born very large. It's not a small baby, already weighing around 100 kilograms. Now, they can have twins. Twins are possible. We've actually seen twins here on Djuma, but it's rare, just as it is in humans, really. It's not common. I am an auntie to twins. 2 very naughty twins, Robbie and Lucy, but it's not common. So they will only have one baby at a time. And that baby can suckle up to 4 years. So it's a big, big investment. And a mother will only really have a baby 1 in every 4 years. And that's the maximum amount of time. So they cannot have sort of a large litter, if you like. It's only birth to one calf. So sorry, I'm just trying to look at all these tracks on the road. It's a very busy road, but none of them are cats. So I'm going to slowly make my way to the den now, and you guys are going to go all the way back across to Nikki.
So we just try to reposition now, and it looks like the whole herd. There's actually, right in front of that elephant that you're seeing on the screen now, there is that drainage line, so like an old riverbed that's on that side. And so that's why we're slowly seeing that elephant going down. And if they eventually go down in there, we might not be able to see them again. But what could happen from here, I'm just trying to think. If you look at this elephant, you'll notice that there's very strange colors on this elephant. You'll see the lower part, especially the back towards the lower legs, is like a grayish color, dark gray, and then the top is like this very light whitish color. How's that for a view of an elephant's bum? Well done, Owen. But so with the elephant like that, it's probably telling us that these elephants came, or probably were at water yesterday, and so you can imagine a warm day yesterday in the middle of the day, so probably took a lot of water and mud inflicted onto their back, and that's what's that lightish color. It's just the mud that is literally dried out on that elephant. And why they do that, of course, it's just protection. It's like sunscreen. It's how we put on sunscreen to protect us against the sun. They do that as well. But also if there's any parasites, it helps to get rid of the parasites. But you can see the view isn't the best at the moment. But if we give it some time, often with elephants, you'll just have to give it a bit of time to see where they move. But if you look just right of this elephant, you'll notice there's a small branch moving, and that's probably the trunk of another elephant. Oh, there we go. You can actually see. So, and if you go straight in there, right in there with that trunk. Gabriel, very good question. I would say probably something called a monkey orange. So here we do get this particular tree, and it bears these bright greenish fruits, and often the elephants do enjoy that. But there's also quite a few other trees like the guaris that produces these beautiful orange berries, and they can go for that. Sometimes there's a tree called a kai apple that they would go for. It almost tastes like an apricot, so if you're in a survival situation as well, it's something you can go for. Fig trees, there's a few fig trees called sycamore figs that they can possibly go for as well. So there's quite a few fruits, but I would say probably the monkey oranges are some of the ones that I do see elephants enjoying quite a bit. And some of the areas north of here, I mean, if you go to Botswana, and even north from there or into Zimbabwe, you'll often find a lot of baobab trees, and the elephants do love the baobab fruits as well. Oh, and then there's another one. I've almost forgotten about it, and this is also one of the elephants. I would probably say it is the absolute favorite, is a marula tree. So the little yellowish fruit that fall onto the ground is what they absolutely love. James, good question. An elephant won't be able to break the trunk because the trunk is just muscle, so there's no bones inside the trunk. So apparently there's over 40,000 different muscles within an elephant's trunk. Have a look at this elephant now turning around. How's that for a view, especially in the sun and that tusk? You can just see that bright white gleam off the tusk from the light. And you know what could have happened now? Earlier on I heard a low rumbling, like a drrrr, and that was probably the matriarch telling the herd, come on, let's go. So now all of them have heard that, and they're starting to move down in that direction. But you can see, of course, being an elephant and having such a big body, they need to eat quite a bit of food in order to sustain themselves, in order to make sure that they can still have enough energy to move around. And so even if they move, they have to take every bit of opportunity to eat as much as they possibly can. Like that elephant that just disappeared out of the screen, I think, from what I can judge by the size, it will probably have to eat close to 150 to 200 kilograms of food a day just to sustain itself. So that's close to between 300 and 400 pounds of food. So just imagine with a whole herd of elephants how much they need to eat in a day. You can just see the branches moving at the back as we speak. But I think for now these elephants have moved off. We can't really see them that well. Rowan and Sean are giving us a hand this morning to try and see if they can find possibly the lions that we're looking out for. And we're going to do another wider loop. So there is an open area in front of us. We're going to go and have a look in all these open areas and see if we can give them a hand and possibly find those lions. And if it warms up later on, I remember yesterday afternoon you saw lion cubs with Sean. Maybe there's a chance that mother might bring them out. We don't know. Let's give it a go. So for now, we're going to carry on. I know Tristan had those leopard tracks this morning, so I'm not sure if he's found anything or he's still going to do a search. But for now, let's head back to Tristan.
Well, Nikki, we are looping around like you, and we are still searching. The lion tracks are all over Triple M. It looks like they've gone into Simambili like we thought. And our female leopard has also crossed over into Simambili. We heard squirrels alarm calling not far from the boundary, but alas, we didn't find anything. The good news, however, is that a male leopard has crossed into Djuma. So we're going to try and see if we can find that rather. It's just tracks absolutely everywhere this morning. Literally every road has got multiple lion and multiple leopard tracks, which is exciting, but also creates quite the conundrum because it's tricky to figure out exactly which ones are which, especially if you haven't been in an area for a while. As a guide, it always takes you a few days just to kind of settle into a rhythm and to find where animals have been moving and where people have been driving, and so you can then work out the freshness of the tracks, particularly now in winter because the roads become so soft and powdery, and if it's not been windy, the tracks can look fresh for much longer than they would in the summer. In the summer, it's often the fact that there's a lot of rain and then there's a lot of sun. The tracks almost get like a crispy edge to them, so they become quite hard, whereas in winter they stay nice and kind of soft and puffy for a much longer period of time, which makes life a little bit tricky. And so, you know, we'll just have to try and see if we can find these guys. But there was a major party on this road last night. Like I say, there's 2 male lions, a female leopard, male leopard. Everybody decided this is where they were going to hang out during the course of last night. Now see, this female leopard has been all over here. She's eventually crosses over a little bit further ahead of us, but she's walking around all over the place. So we're going to have to try and kind of figure out what's going on in this area. Be interesting to know if Shadulu is going to start mating with Hukumuri soon. I suppose it's around the time now. She's obviously had her cub Kara for a while, and Kara's getting to the age now where she can go off on her own, and maybe we're going to start to see Shadulu seeking out Hukumuri to mate. There's obviously also a lot of other leopards in the area. Now the problem is that these leopards have walked all up and down this road, but James left this morning. Very sad face. I'm very sad that James is not going to be here. I always thoroughly enjoy working with James, but he drove here with his hunking great vehicle and trailer that he used for his honeymoon trip and has obliterated a whole bunch of tracks. So we're going to have to try and figure this out and work out what's going on. This female leopard is going a different direction now, presenting, and followed by hyenas. It's quite cool to see. A lot of the time you'll find leopards are followed by hyenas. Hyenas know that leopards can often, if you have a look on the ground, and that there is a leopard track, and then to the back right is the hyena that is following the leopard as it's walking down the road. So obviously she had a bit of company last night. Anyway, it sounds like our signal is not very good, and so while we figure out all these tracks and see where everything is gone, let's send you back across to Nikki as he goes in search of those little fluffy lion cubs.
So as we just went past that whole herd of elephants, we found another herd. And just look at the size of that tree right next to the elephant. So that tree is a very hard tree, and it takes a long time to get to that size. It's called a leadwood. So it's, I don't know if anyone could hear that, but there was an elephant just trumpeting behind us. Just have a look at the size. Now, why I wanted to focus on this particular elephant here is if you go closer, you'll notice she only has one tusk. So it'd be interesting to know how she lost the other tusk. And I don't know if any of the kids would like to give an opportunity to think, like, what are some of the things that could have happened. But I personally think maybe she could have been pushing over a tree, and maybe then that tusk hooked onto a branch, or maybe into the crevice of the tree, and as she pushed it, it just went and it broke that tusk off. And unfortunately, depending on where it broke off, it won't be able to grow back. Because when she turned earlier, I couldn't see any of the tusk coming out, so she might have broken it too deep for it to grow back. But you can see, very early in the morning, enjoying some breakfast, the way she's just taking a trunk, wrapping it around the grass, and then almost giving it a bit of a jerk action just to break it off, and then from there, straight into the mouth. And you can see she's very relaxed. Look at how she's just, her tail is moving. Now and then you'll see her ears flapping. But very, very relaxed. Savannah age 8, very good question. So they, if elephants are born, they would probably be the size. Ooh, I'm going to try and show you. So it looks like there is a little elephant coming out now. Okay, let me try and explain. Because see the one that that one with the one tusk is probably the mother of that little one. So, look at the little one with his trunk up. He's probably just smelling the air. So that little one, I would probably say would be close to 4, maybe a little bit more, maybe 5 or 6 months old. So a little bit smaller than that is how big they would be when they're born. And it's pretty heavy. I mean, with an elephant that's born, it's like they'll weigh over 100 kilograms. So you can imagine over 200 pounds. It's quite a big baby to be born. But you can see how I know that the bigger one with the one tusk is probably the mother, is just basically looking between her 2 legs in the front. And it does show that that youngster is suckling on the mum, just based on what we can see. So that's why I think that would be the mum. The other one right next to it looks a lot younger, and I don't think it would be the mother of that youngster. But you'll notice a little elephant like that would mainly drink of mum's milk. And so he doesn't really know, I don't know if it's him or her, it might be a young boy, might be a young daughter, it's hard to see. But she might not even, or he might not even know how to use his trunk properly. So you might find that they would grab a bit of the grass, try to pull it, doesn't know what to do, like lift up the trunk, move forward, like move towards mom, and almost try to see what does mom do with her trunk, and then try and imitate mom in a way, or those that are around her, or him. But how beautiful is that for a herd? Oh, there's another baby coming out. Let's just have a closer look. Let's see which ones, they almost look like the same size. Nico, I would say, I think these elephants are just like early on. Oh, look, just to the right of this little baby, the mom has actually moved towards the tree there, and she might just rub up against that tree. Have a look. Might have a little itch behind the ears, and just quickly getting that hard to reach spot. And often if elephants, especially if they flick mud onto themselves and it's dried, it helps to get rid of the ticks by brushing up against that tree. So Nico, just to get back to your question, I think the reason why these elephants are moving slowly today, because if they do move, just getting the other side quickly, is if they do decide to move, sometimes they could move quickly, especially if they get close to water, or maybe there's a bit of danger for the youngsters, the mothers might move quite quickly. But I think early part of the morning, they might have had a drink. Oh, look at the baby even rubbing himself. It's like, okay, mom's doing it, let me try. It's not often where you see an elephant being covered by grass, or not being able to see them because the grass is taller than the elephant. Just shows you how small that baby is. But so then, because now they already had something to drink, it's just feeding, and it's nice just out in the open. There's a lot of sweet grass in the area, and so there's no rush for these mothers to move quite quickly. And also think because of the babies being there. If the mom moves too quickly, it might tire out those little ones, so they'll slow down their pace and allow the youngsters just to keep up with them. And I think if we give it some time here, it does sound like there's more elephants off to the left. You can just hear the branches breaking. You can also hear a few of them trumpeting. So there's a good chance that there might be other members of the herd that will come in. Gabriella, age 11, that is a very good question. I'm not too sure. I do know that with some elephants, especially if they have an old injury, they could develop quite big abscesses that would form from there. But I'm not too sure on any other skin disease. I do know, I have seen an albino elephant before, where the elephant is almost like a pinkish color. You can see like in the eyes as well, and around the trunk and the feet. It's a very odd colored elephant. It's not white, but it's like this pinkish elephant. So I've seen that, but it's not so much a skin disease, more like just a lack of pigmentation. But what I'll try and do, I'm very fascinated by your question, is if anyone knows more about it, I'd love to hear. But I'll try and read up a bit more about it. And maybe on this afternoon's drive, if we do see some elephants, I'd like to get back to that question. I'm actually going to take my little notebook and write that down. So while we are going to have a look at these elephants to see if there's more coming out, let's head across to Lauren and hear if she has an update for us.
Elephants actually do get skin diseases. They get a lot of diseases. I'm sure Nikki's going to do his research, but they do. They absolutely do get skin diseases. Now, this is the area where James and Davy had the 2 cubbies yesterday, right at the bottom of these tamboi tea trees here. So we've sat here a while, just listening, being really silent, having a look for any movement, and we can't see anything, I'm afraid. It's a very tricky drainage. Davy did very, very well to spot cubbies yesterday. I don't quite know how he did it. I don't see any signs of anything. So I think what we're going to do is just scratch around this area for a little bit and then maybe check the Ngala Road South den again. I think Tandi moves these cubs a lot. They're at that age where they're mobile. They're traveling with her, but I also think she keeps them moving. She's a very, very experienced leopardess. I really don't think she keeps them stashed in one area for too long. When they were younger, I think she would have. But they're mobile now. They've got energy now. They're moving their muscles. They're very, very much ready to leap and bound around, which means it's not safe to always keep them in the one spot for too long. So we came in here very, very slowly, very cautiously. So 45 minutes is up already, everyone. Wow, time flies when you're having fun. So, of course, thank you, kids, for all your questions. Now we will be accepting questions from everybody. But please don't stop sending them in, kids. We will, of course, still answer your questions, or at least try to. But we'll be taking questions from everybody now. Okay, I think we mean to leave here. But I really, really don't see signs of any movements, any spots, any little fur balls. It's a bit of a tricky area, so it's going to be quite tricky to navigate out of. Okay, while I try and get out of this area as cautiously and carefully as possible, we are going to send you guys all the way back across to Nikki.
Was more specific stuff, so we left the herd of elephants. They were moving off slowly, but we're now crossing over the river. Now there's a big open area not too far away from here, and we want to go start around that open area. I can just imagine like a pride of lions, if they've moved for quite a bit. There's a few hyena tracks on this road. I can just imagine with lions, if they have moved for quite a bit in the evening, the last tracks that were seen were almost like heading in this direction. As we start in this open area, give it a good scan, see if there's any signs of them. If nothing, what we're going to do is we're going to start making our way towards where the last area was. And as I said, I would really love to take a map and then go through you on the map and show you where we're going to be driving and why do we decide to drive in those areas. Because with every route that we have to take, there has to be a specific objective or goal that we want to get out of it. We can't just drive and hope that we find something. So with lions, normally when they do hunt, they prefer denser areas, especially now during winter time where there's a lot less cover. But sometimes what happens is when they are unsuccessful, they might go and lay in an open area. Early on in the morning, might warm up with the sun before it warms up too much, and then they'll head to the shade. So that's why we're going to quickly go check another open area, and then we'll take it from there. Oh, I actually wanted to, I know some of the kids are probably watching, and I thought maybe some of the things that we can possibly do is, now often we talk a lot about the bush and we talk about what can the animals eat and maybe what do some of the baboons or monkeys or hippos, but we often neglect of what we can sometimes get out of the bush. Now, for us, there's a particular tree here. Sorry, I know I'm probably moving a bit too quick there, but I know you are very skillful and you're going to get it very quickly. There we go. So I'm just going to take this tree right over here. So I have to carefully pick it because there's a lot of thorns on this one here. But if you, let's say you were in a survival situation in Africa and you didn't really have any food on you at the moment and you couldn't get any berries because it's in the winter time, so there's not a lot of berries around, or maybe you couldn't get any form of food. So this tree here is known as a buffalo thorn. And I'll try and see if I can show you the thorn soon. But these leaves, if you were in a situation where you didn't have any food, is you can eat it as a salad. So you can take these leaves, basically, and you can eat them, or you can even cook them, and they're not too bad. Like if you eat too many of them, it does taste a little bit bitter, but that's the tree's way of protecting itself. So if I move closer, so I'm going to try, let's see if I can use my notebook so everyone can see the thorns on this tree. So if I use my notebook like this, let me just get a white page open, and I put the tree in there, would it be able to focus? Okay, so if you look at the back, you'll see there's quite a few of these horrible thorns that are pointing backwards, and these ones that are pointing forward. So it's really hard for an animal to eat this, because you can imagine with a giraffe, they have to carefully like maneuver their head around to try and grab some of the leaves and then pull that off in order to try and get it. But so one of the things you can do with this tree, of course, is you can eat the leaves. So that's a really nice thing to do. Well, I don't think it's the best because it's not as flavorsome as you would think, but you can definitely do it. The other thing you can do is if you needed maybe fish or frogs or anything in order to survive, you can take a branch of this tree, hit it in the water, and then pull it. And because of these little thorns, you'll be able to grab anything like a net and pull it out of the water. So that's a few uses. If you wanted to make a bow and arrow, you can also make a bow and arrow out of this tree here. So it's the buffalo thorn in Afrikaans. They call it blinkblaar waggebiekie, which is directly translated into a tree that says, wait a minute, because every time it catches you, you have to. So Nima, I agree. It's a delicious breakfast. I won't. It's not above the normal breakfast, but at least it's some form of breakfast. I won't recommend it though if you didn't have to. But on that note, let's carry on with our drive. See if there's any other signs. I just thought I wanted to share. I know that some of the kids, especially when I grew up, always wanted to know a bit more about. Always wanted to know a little bit more about survival and how to survive in the African bush. But for now, while we're carrying on looking for our lions, let's head across to Tristan with the Warthog.
Good luck, Nikki. Hopefully you'll find your lions shortly. But we have not found our leopard. We have just found, well, what our leopard likes to eat the most. In fact, Hukamuri loves a warthog, and so I suppose it's a good thing just to stop and watch a warthog for a little bit. It's also very pretty with the sort of backlighting of the sunrise coming up from behind. But I can't find where he comes out onto WildEarth access, which is very odd because the size of the block where his tracks cross into where WildEarth access is very, very small. And so it shouldn't have taken him long to have crossed it. But I can't find anything, and our signal's a bit dodgy in that area. So for the moment, I'm just doing a big loop, and then I'll try and head back there when we're off air and just try and figure out exactly where he went. But beautiful to see a little warthog around. Normally they run away, so it's nice that this one's actually kind of staying still. It is far from us, and it's not very close, but even then, in this particular area, generally the warthogs have kind of become accustomed to the fact that we follow predators around, and so when they see vehicles, they normally trot off, unless, of course, they hang around a lodge or on an airstrip. If warthogs that live around an airstrip, they generally become very relaxed very quickly, and the reason for that is just because of all the aircrafts that generally come in here, and then all the vehicles that go fetch their guests, they start to learn that it's not a problem for those vehicles. But obviously nowadays, with the lack of aircrafts coming in and vehicles that are out, warthogs won't be getting the same same exposure. Courtney, indeed, you're saying stay safe, warthog, and that is a very wise sentiment to give this warthog, because out here everything really is looking to eat them, from lions and leopards, and when they're little, birds of prey and snakes and all kinds of other things. So it needs to be wary, that's for sure. And given the number of tracks that are around this area this morning, it needs to be incredibly wary. There's tracks for female leopards, male lions, none of which is something a warthog really wants creeping up on it. So I suspect that it will need to stay safe. Luckily for it, though, it's in a prime spot, really, because it's kind of in the middle of an open area called Sandy Patch, and there's not much cover here for any of the predators. The grass is, I suppose, fairly long, but they generally get spotted quite quickly when they get into open clearings like this, and so our warthog should be just fine if it stays here. And it's probably going to do so until such time as that sun gets a little bit warmer. The sun's already kind of quite high in the sky and it's starting to warm up, but for now it's cool enough that it can sit right out in the open and feed. As it starts to warm up later, then you'll start to find it kind of moving into sort of more dense areas where it can get a little bit of shade and maybe find a little mud wallow to go and have a little swim. It's nice to see, well, not nice to see, but I suppose it's good in a way that so many of the mud wallows are dried up. There's a little mud wallow where we were checking just in case Hukumuri went there. And I say Hukumuri because it's really the one male that uses that path that he's used to cross in. There's no other males that I really see use that particular track. But there's a little water hole or mud wallow there. And that was full when I was last year, and it's all dry now. There's just a little tiny puddle that's left there. So we went to go and check just in case he had drank and maybe lay down somewhere there, but we didn't see anything. It's quite thick around that little wallow, so maybe he is lying up somewhere, but we'll go back and have a little look just now. So the most accommodating warthog I've had in a long time. Generally, like I say, don't sit still. But you can see it's very wary of us. Every now and then it's kind of pops its head up and watches us over the grass and then goes back to feeding. And it's a sound plan if you're a warthog, because ultimately out here, spending time with your head down in the grass is only going to lead to complications and, well, a quick end to one's life. So it's better to be alert and to pop your head up every now and then, especially for a warthog like this that looks like it's on its own. I certainly don't see any others. There could be, small ones around, but they should be big enough to be seen through the grass. Surfer, so warthogs mostly are in groups. It's very seldom that you actually see them on their own unless it's a really big male. Most of the time it's, females with their offspring, and it can be 2 generations of offspring that she has with her. And so, at the beginning of the kind of birthing season, so around October, November, sometimes it's not uncommon to have 10, 12 warthogs together. But as the season Kaiser goes on, unfortunately what happens is they get taken, because the little piglets are so small, they get eaten by a lot of different things, and that then whittles down the numbers. And so you might find that this particular individual, it's difficult to see if it's a male or a female because the grass is kind of in its face. But it might have had little ones and they've all been killed, or it's a young male that's been thrown out by its mom because she's had now her next litter. So it's possibly why it's sitting by itself at this stage. Very cool to see, though, like I say. Right, well, we're going to leave our warthog be and let it carry on with its morning feed. And while we do that, let's send you back across to Lauren, who apparently is running around.
Accommodating warthogs? I don't think I've ever heard that sentence before. Now, we do have some interesting updates. Davi, you were right. I shall hop out the vehicle. I don't often say those words, but Davi was right. I'm annoyed at myself for not checking here first. I am. I went straight to the den site without looking. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a fresh leopard-esque tracks. Other one. Oh, they're already circled. That's amazing. I don't know who did that. This is hyena. We've got lots going on here. Hyena, and I wonder if this hyena has been following Tandi and cubs. There's cub tracks too. I'm just going to try and find them. Fresh, very fresh, very fresh. And I wonder if this hyena has followed them. They are going straight on this road, which leads directly to Torchwood, everybody. Which is very, very sad. It appears she came here for one night and one night only. We'll, of course, follow them. Yeah, they go all the way here. I imagine in the early hours of the morning. And the cub tracks are definitely there. I'm just not able to show you one. But I promise you they're there. 2 little cub tracks. So what this means is our Tandi cat has most likely crossed back into Torchwood. Cheetah cut line is just up here. Which is rather sad. I don't know why she keeps going to Torchwood. And the reason I say this is because in Djuma right now, there's a lack of female leopards. We have Klalamba, who also spends a lot of time on Buffelshoek, and Tandi. But other than that, there's definitely space for another leopardess on Djuma. Definitely. And I just don't understand why. I mean, Torchwood is Tandi's original natal stomping grounds. So there's a possibility that she's gone back to her natal ground. She lost cubs before, and maybe she herself finds it safer on Torchwood. But that's definitely Kuchava's territory as well. And Kuchava is Tandi's daughter, but they will avoid one another. They won't exactly want to spend time with one another. So Torchwood is a big property. But I just feel there's space for another leopardess on Djuma. It's very sort of vacant right now. Lisa, they definitely had a party last night and we were not invited, which is rather sad. I would love to be invited to a leopard party. I think that would be the best party of all times. But sadly we were not. I see the cubby tracks now. They're so small. Okay. We're heading straight to Cheetah Cut Line, everyone. We're actually going to hit it very soon. Okay, so I am not entirely sure it's going to be good news this morning, but I will not give up. We're almost on the eastern boundary, but we are going to send you guys across to Tristan with some very stripy animals.
I agree, Lauren. There definitely was a party last night and we weren't invited, which is very rude. But it's fine. We will force our invitation. We'll be party crashers. And try and find them on our own accord and find where this secret party is taking place. In the meantime, though, we decided to stop and have a little gaze at a nice little group of zebra. It's been a while since I've seen zebra on Djuma. I don't know how much they've been around of late, but when I was here last time, there was very, very few zebras around. And it's probably due to the fact that the last time I was here, as I was saying earlier, it was so thick and so green, it's not really conducive to having big populations of zebra. They prefer much more open sort of areas. When it's thick and dense and the grass is very long, it's obviously incredibly dangerous for them. And so they try and search out for areas that are a little bit more open and that they can then see predators, particularly lions, much easier. And so the numbers of zebra generally is quite low in the summer months. As we go into winter, we start to typically see them a little bit more, and obviously spring, when there's that first little green flush, then they generally are around. So nice to kind of see them again. They're such beautiful animals that it's incredibly difficult to kind of drive past and not stop and admire how pretty they actually are. Now, I suspect that this particular grouping is maybe a little bachelor herd. I'm not 100% sure yet. I'll have to wait for one or two of them to kind of turn around. But quite common to see very small groupings of zebra like this, so 2, 3, 4 individuals. And it's often quite a big stallion that's accompanied by some younger ones. And they kind of move around and just spend some time on their own until such time as they're big enough and strong enough to challenge a bigger, more dominant stallion for his harem and to try and then obviously take over females. So at this stage, I reckon that's what we're looking at. It might be females, but I'd be surprised if it is because I don't see any young ones with them. Alarmo, you're saying the middle one has very interesting markings. Are you talking about on its flank area or just kind of in general. Zebras are quite interesting in that way. They often do have very, very cool markings. It's so nice that they kind of have the stripes that go into their mane, but sometimes you do get these odd ones that will have quite unique sort of patterns on them, sometimes like broken black lines, or the lines are much thicker than others or much thinner. So, you do often get variations in it, but it's always nice to kind of sit and actually look at the differences between each one. And you can see in these guys that what makes them easy to identify as plain zebra or Burchell zebra is the fact that they've got these shadow stripes. So particularly on the hind quarter area, you would have noticed that there's these kind of faded stripes between the black, and that's what they call shadow stripes. And so they're one of the few that has it. If you see something like a Grevy's zebra, they don't have that at all. They have beautiful sort of fine little black lines that come down, and these massive ears. They're really pretty zebra are the Grevy's, but these guys have those little shadow stripes, which can often kind of accentuate their patterns and make quite an interesting sort of pattern on their side. Trust photography, yes. Zebra of this size, probably not. But young zebras, 100%. I have seen a few times leopards with a zebra kill. Down in the south of the Sabi Sands, there was a male leopard called Shavonakele. And I've seen him with a zebra in a tree. I've seen a male leopard called Kashan with a zebra in a tree. So yeah, it does happen in Vula as well with a zebra foal, but it's generally small foals, fairly kind of young within the first few months of their life. Once they start to grow and get a little bit bigger and bulkier, it's a bit tricky for them. A zebra is an incredibly powerful animal, particularly around that neck and shoulders. And if you go after a male zebra, well, he's got erupted canines, and so can cause a lot of damage to something like a leopard. And so leopards generally will shy away from going after big adult zebras. The only leopard I've seen feeding on an adult zebra was, well, I mean, I didn't see it personally. James, actually, I think it was James that saw it, was in Vula. He found a dead zebra, and he actually, it's quite a funny video because he kind of plucks at the stomach, and it had been obviously dead for a while, and this whole thing explodes on his face, and he gets a fright and kind of moves off a little bit and then goes back again. But it is unpleasant. I'm sure the smell was unpleasant, but it's the only time I've seen a leopard kind of feeding on big zebras or adult zebras. In the Mara and places like that, you do see them hunting older zebras than what we see here in the Sabi Sands, but it's very seldom that they go after, zebras that are over a year old, and that's just because of how much power that they have. It's an unwise choice to go after such a strong animal. All right, while we carry on and go in search of our leopards, I've been hoping that I would hear some sort of sign of them while I've been sitting still with the warthog and the zebras, but we haven't had any luck. But it sounds like Nicky is still searching for his cats all the way up at andBeyond Ngala.
So we've just decided to come through the river, and now we're driving on the other side of the river, and we are heading in a westerly direction. So in other words, so the sun is behind us, and we're moving away from the sun now. And what we're trying to look out for is, early on we said we are looking out for any tracks or signs of possibly where these lions could be. But also another thing that we are looking out for is, or listening out for, is if any of the Impala, maybe Kudu, zebra, wildebeest, if they start alarm calling. So they often give this very loud snort, or maybe even like with the Kudus, you find a bark, so like a very deep bark that you could hear that sometimes echoes in the river. And so that's what we're listening out for. We haven't heard anything yet, but we are exploring quite a few of the open areas. So you can see the area right in front of us. It's nice and open. It could be also an opportunity. So we always say we are looking out for the lions in particular, which is our goal. But so I'm just quickly putting the vehicle back in high range. But there's always a chance we could find some of the other animals. Like, I mean, an open area, good chance for cheetah. So cheetah is not something that we see every day, but if we do see them, or if there's any fresh tracks, we always give an opportunity, because you never know if we're going to see them again in the next little while. But that's always a chance we have. But often as well, what we look out for is there's any other maybe common animals in the area, because if there's no common animals in the area, it's a chance that there might have been predators that moved through it and they could have chased those animals away. So there's little signs that we try and put together in order to find these lions, or possibly any of the other predators we're looking out for. But as I said, so our objective is lion, but whatever we find, of course, that would just be the bonus. You can actually see it looks like might be a vulture up in the tree. Just want to quickly have a look. So do you see over my head, what is that white thing up in the tree there? Just want to take my binoculars. Oh yeah. So thank you so much for all the viewers and giving us the best of wishes and luck for these lions. I'm sure if we work together with Sean Roan, I know Yarpie's also in the mix. So hopefully we'll be very lucky this morning. Look at how this vulture is sitting with its wing open. It's probably just absorbing a little bit of that sunlight. I can imagine it was a nice ice cold, or was it quite a cold morning? So it's just probably waiting for it to warm up before it takes to flight. So it looks like, just judging by the colors of the feathers and also color of the side of the wing and the head, it looks like a white-back vulture. So the other ones we get 5 different species of vultures in the area, but this is the most common one that you will find. Often, especially if we go near the river, you might even see them up in some of the bigger trees. I'm just going to lower my head, sorry, I've brought it up in the screen there. So vultures are another way of trying to see if we can find predators, because if we find a lot of them up in the trees, it might mean that something has made a kill. So for now, we're going to carry on with the search, and thank you all for wishing us the best of luck. Hopefully we will be able to reward you with something. But for now, let's head across to Lauren.
We just had 2 honey badgers run towards me as I was out the vehicle looking at Tandi tracks. 2 honey badgers. They've gone in here somewhere. So I'm just trying to drive really slowly to see if we can maybe see them. I mean, the grass is definitely not as tall as it was when we were showing you the Impala at the start. Just let us look, you never know. We see a lot more honey badgers in winter, because it's easier to see them. What would you say about here, Davy? A little bit further, okay. We've still got Tandi's tracks, by the way. Okay. Emma's saying she always has honey badger luck with me, but it's not lucky just yet. Hold on, I'm also still trying to keep my eyes on the ground for the Tandi tracks. One good piece of news is they've not crossed into Torchwood yet. They're running south along Cheetah Cut Line. Okay, Davy's seen a little bit further ahead. He had a better visual of them than I did. 2 honey badgers, not 1 but 2. Can you actually believe it? They probably got startled to see a vehicle and a human on foot. James got really lucky with the honey badger the other day as well. Alan, you're saying get them, David. No pressure. No, put him under pressure, David. Absolutely. Put David under pressure, David. I mean, Alan. Your name's Alan. Put him under pressure, Alan. Okay, Davy, I don't know, I'm afraid. Where did you see them cut in? Just here. Oh. It's so frustrating. We should always look behind us in case they pop back out again. That's rule number 1 here. Always look behind. On another note, though, I've still got Tandi's tracks right down the side. I've still got the cubby tracks. The cub tracks are so small. I'm going to show you one and put my hand next to one. Let me just see how I can do this. I think this will work, Davy. I'll get my porky pointer out. which I have loved so dearly. And you can see we're far from when you last saw us, and there's lots of hyena tracks thrown in the mix here. So let me try and find you the best leopard one. I don't know. Can you see these ones, Davi? This is Mama. This is Tandi, and this is Cubby. And this is a Cubby. So I'll choose this one. Can you work with this one? Look at it next to my hand. It's so sweet. They're relatively fresh as well, so she has moved them. I can see them going all the way down. There's hyena mixed in too, though. I think the hyena's been following them. This is a happy hyena, big hyena, Cubby. Okay, so we're going to keep following for now. We need to know where they go. Do they cross into Torchwood, or, everybody, do they cross back into Djuma? That is the question. Okay, one last look behind for honey badgers. No, they're not there. Ah, sorry everybody. Okay, I can't not follow these tracks, I'm afraid, everybody. We have to find out where Tandi has gone. So as I look for my spots, I think Mr. Tristan is also looking for his spots.
Well, exactly, Lauren. We are both looking for spots. Hopefully you find them. I'm on the tracks for Hukamuri still. I think it's Hukamuri at least. I'm just checking the path that he's walking because I can't find where he's come out. So I'm kind of hoping that he's lying up. His track is right here. I'm still going towards this pan, but I'm just trying to see if he took this path or this path. You can see here it separates into two. Now, when tracking leopards in particular, and lions, they love walking pathways, so they'll either go along this one or they'll take the path that's on my left hand side, which runs like this. And so when you get to a junction like this, it's always good just to stop for a second and just kind of have a little look around and try and check which way they went. Now, earlier when I was checking in the little water pan or the little water hole where I was hoping he would be lying up, there was sort of no sign of him on the left-hand path, so I just want to quickly check the right-hand one. But you can see it's quite thick here with lots of quarries, so what he might have done is drank and then gone in underneath and is just lying up somewhere close by. The other problem is that this area, the paths are so hard now, it's difficult to see if he actually walked on this one. There's a hyena that walked here, that's for sure. I'm just going to go around and just quickly check. Now normally, you try and walk this on foot and see, but with the leopard, walking can sometimes be a bit of a hindrance because you can sometimes find them on foot and then they run off and it can be very difficult to relocate them, particularly when the bush is as thick as it is now. And so kind of good idea sometimes just to drive it through and to be able to check it. The little water point I'm talking about is just in front here, so what I'm trying to do is just check. Errol, inherently yes. So here is not a great example of leopard behavior in terms of the fact that they've become so relaxed and habituated is the word that we use to vehicles and people on foot, because they are tracked by trackers and obviously followed by vehicles from the time that they're very, very young, as is evidenced by the fact that we follow Tandi and her cubs and Kuchava and the likes. And so the answer to it is that they are actually shy. If you go into areas where there's not a lot of vehicles and not a lot of people tracking them, then they are incredibly shy. I spent a week in a reserve just north of where we are now. It's a new reserve that's recently been done, and it's been changed over from a hunting area. And the leopards there, you'll see tracks, but finding them is almost impossible. They don't want anything to do with people, and so they inherently are very shy, and it's why leopard viewing is very difficult in the world. You can see this water is not very nice though, on the left hand side, so maybe he just came here, had a little sniff around and thought to himself, no, this is not worth drinking, and has carried on. But yeah, if you go to most places, the leopard is a very difficult animal to see. It's why this particular area, the Sabi Sands and the South Luangwa, have become so famous, is because the leopard viewing there is so good, and it gives people a much better chance of being able to see them. Whereas, in most other areas, leopards are not an easily findable creature. There we go. There's something here. There's an Impala alarm calling and a Franklin. I wonder if this is not the leopard that we're looking for. Come on. Hopefully we can find that there's a Franklin going crazy and an Impala alarming. Where are you looking, Impala? Or are you just being a boy and being silly? It's kind of in this direction, so maybe it just thinks we were sitting with the leopard because it saw it here earlier. I'm not sure. I know Hukamuri is lay on a termite mound very close to where I am right now, so I'm just going to quickly check that one. I've seen him there twice before on top of the mound. The Impala's there, it's just run off to the left. Grant, you say this is wild? Well, I mean, it is pretty cool that we get to do these kinds of things, and looking for leopards in blocks like this and trying to find them can be a pretty wild experience, that's for sure. We're super fortunate that we get to do this. Now, this is the mound that I was talking about. I've seen him on here twice before, sitting on top of it. It looks very different to the last time I saw him on there. The last time I saw him on there was not a blade of grass on top of it, but now it's all full of grass. I wonder if that Impala maybe thought we were sitting with a leopard, and that's why it started to alarm call. It wasn't that normal male rut that you hear at this time of the year. Sometimes Impalas can be a bit of a problem at this time of the year because they make a noise and will snort as though it's almost like an alarm call, but it's part of their rutting, gargling and snorting that they do. But this particular one, normally what you find is when they snort, they'll follow it with a gargle, and this one didn't. It was just kind of snorting and a long pause in between. When they're rutting, the snorts are quite close together, so it's like a and then that gargle, whereas this was a kind of snort and then watch, snort and then watch, and I saw the Impala kind of run off from us. So I don't know if maybe this leopard is somewhere in this area and we've just driven past it, but let's keep looking and see what we can find. It's quite open here, so if there's any sign of him moving, we should be able to see him. All right. Well, I'm going to quickly scratch around here and just see. Like I said, there was Franklin's also calling, so there must be something disturbing the area. And so while we check, let's send you back across to Nikki, see if he's had any luck with his lions.
So we've just after seeing that vulture, we saw a few other vultures, but I think that's probably where they were roosting during the evening. We are carrying on back to the river, so now what we're going to do is there hasn't been any updates on the rest of the pride yet, and I know some of the viewers are probably wondering what's happened to that young male with the injured back leg, is we unfortunately don't know, so we have to see if we can find the rest of the pride, and hopefully he would be with the pride, so that's what we're hoping for. Alternatively, we also are heading into the area where he was last seen, so there's a chance we might be able to, I'm not sure if I'm going to say find him this morning, but if there's any tracks or signs of him, I'm sure he wouldn't have moved too far unless he's joined up with the rest of the pride. So we are making our way towards the river. We are checking quite a few of the open areas. So now our goal is to try now. Rowan is right in front of us, him and Sean, and they're tracking towards us. And we basically from our side working towards them. So we're working together to try and cover as much ground as we possibly can in that area to see if we can find any fresher tracks and signs of these lions. And I know now already he's gotten some good spots already. And hopefully he'll be able to help and spot these lions from quite a far distance. No pressure. There's quite a few Impala in the area, so just off to our left and right I can see a few Impala. So with Impala being very relaxed, it is an open area, so if there was any lions, I'm sure they would have been able to spot them. So we are going to, like when we get to these areas, we'll slowly start pushing a little bit quicker through it. Lulu, I do agree, it is an exciting morning, and who knows, imagine we can get these lions. Oh, it'd be such a nice, we've already had some amazing sightings from those elephants, and we've seen quite a few of the more common game species. We haven't seen zebra, that's my favorite, hopefully we do that. And then as well as those lions. That'd be really a highlight. But of course, if we find leopard and wild dogs and all these other amazing things. I know the kids were asking for aardwolf and pangolin this morning. Luckily, not too hard of a of a request. But aardwolf, if we do find one, I'm sure a lot of people will do a backsummy and quite a few other different things, because it's not something that you find in the area. They're more in the arid areas of South Africa and maybe towards Namibia as well as into Botswana. Just wanted to quickly stop like this. There's a male Impala right in front of us, and he's actually doing one of those rutting calls. See, sometimes when they do that, they'll actually pick up their tail, and you can see quite a lot of white under the tail. Normally with Impala, you don't really see the white unless they flick their tail, but you can see he's moved into a bit of shade there. And what he's doing now is he's rubbing his head against that one tree. So that's just putting a scent there to tell the other males that he's the strongest one here. But I'm sure he's probably been pushed away by a more dominant male than him from the rest of the herd. So we're not too far from a beautiful open area. Now, another animal that we could see here is possibly black-backed jackals. So there's a family of black-backed jackals that stay in this area, and often you see the mom and the dad and maybe the youngsters around. So we'll keep a good lookout as we go past this area, I think. But from here on, we'll start making our way back to the river in search of those lions. Oh, the vultures we saw earlier, they weren't doing too much. They were just sitting up in the tree and enjoying that sun. We drove in the area and we tried to see if there was any signs of any of the predators. We saw a few hyena, or one hyena track, but we didn't see any tracks of leopard or lion. There's actually, as we speak, I just want to quickly jump off. There's some tracks in the road here. I'm not sure what they are. Alright, you'll probably be able, I don't know if you'll be able to see with the camera from here, just so that we can show everyone what we're looking out for. So see right here, and would you be able, say again? A little bit further along. Would you be able to see this one here? Yeah, it's not so much to be able to see the track, it's just to see the indentation and the color on the road. So this is from a hyena going in this direction. So what we're trying to do is, if there's any signs of possibly the lions, or maybe even signs of leopard or wild dog, normally they'll sometimes use this section of the road and they'll run onto it before they head back into a denser area or onto a game trail, like a very well used path. So we're going to carry on. For now, let's head across to Lauren with some guinea fowl, but hopefully let's keep our fingers crossed, and hopefully we'll find these lions in the riverbed.
I have a collection of fowls, fowling fowls. We have some helmeted guinea fowls at the small little pan just before you enter into Chitwa. And there must be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, around 20. I just fake counted there, everyone. I didn't really count. It was fake. But still, there's a lot of guinea fowl. I wonder if there's a collective noun for helmeted guinea fowls. I would be very intrigued to know what that is. You're welcome to send in your suggestions. A silliness, according to Emma. I'm not sure if that is true fact or one of Emma's amazing creations. A silliness of guinea fowl. It's an Emma fact. Okay, that's perfect. Emma's back, everyone. It's good to have her back. She made a terrible pot of coffee this morning, but that's okay. We can forgive her. We're just super happy to have her back. That is true. She didn't steal my peanut butter, so she's fine. We're all good. Isn't this fascinating? Normally they're quite skittish, but this lot are obviously having a very, very good drink. Oh, we're preening. JC, okay, you win the comment of the day so far. You're the winner. You're saying this is foul play. I love it. Let's see if anyone can top it. I don't think they will be able to. Indigo Girl and Nemo. You're saying it's a confusion of guinea fowl. Oh, I like that. I think that's better than silliness. It's a confusion. I like it. Now you can see some of them don't have the... Oh, Google agrees. Thank you, Emma. Google agrees. If Google agrees, then you're on a winner. So it is a confusion of guinea fowl. Now you see those ones that are, they don't have the bright red and blue face. I think I just saw one. Oh, yeah, there's one there, Darby. These are the immature guinea fowl, which means the young ones. They don't have much of a helmet either. The other ones are all wearing helmets. They're all ready to go motorbiking across Chitwa Dam Wall. I would love to do that, actually. Although I'm never getting on a motorbike ever again. But, yes, the brown ones with no coloration, that's the youngsters. Isn't this lovely? They're monogamous as well, so you will find them in pairs as well as in a confusion. So there'll be lots of monogamous pairs in there, and hopefully they are monogamous, because birds have a bit of a reputation for appearing to be monogamous, but actually not being monogamous at all. Whether their partners know that or not remains to be resolved. But there's lots and lots of studies with fish and birds now where they are said to be monogamous, but either the male or the female will have been mating with other individuals, which is very naughty. Okay, as I move out of my confusion, we are going to send you back across to Nikki and see what he's up to.
So we managed to go down into the river and we found this one lioness. So this is the young mother of the two small cubs that we've been seeing with Rowan and with Sean last night. So it'd be interesting to see if she's going to eventually bring the cubs out. I haven't seen any cubs around, but they might just be in the den side just off to her, or our left but her right. Or they might even be suckling. So it'd be interesting to see if we can spend some time. But you can see she's so tired. Look at how she's trying to keep her head up. But how beautiful is the sunlight on her face. Look at that white patch on the chin, especially on the cheek. There's also a little bit of white. And then, of course, the white under the eye. But she is very tired. Just look at her trying to keep her head up. And you'll see her head slowly starts dropping down. And I can just imagine for her, like this is her first set of cubs as well. So imagine for her as a mother how difficult it must be. Now she's all by herself. She hasn't joined up with the rest of the pride. So she has to hunt. And then whenever she's finished hunting, she has to then, of course, try and come back to the young ones and give them something to drink. And because she's all by herself, it often makes it a little bit more difficult to hunt. But look at the color of her eyes. I do enjoy that. Very beautiful, like yellowish color. So there was a question from Rebecca, but I didn't hear properly. Maybe if you can go with the question again, please. Being a new mother. So The question was, being a new mother, it does make you quite tired. I can imagine for her, you can just see like she's her head is pretty heavy at the moment, but it'd be interesting to see if she stands up, if there's any signs of possibly the youngsters that's maybe laying down behind her, or she might even call them as it warms up. She might just have moved on to this open area just to make sure that it's all safe, and then from there on she could possibly call them and they can move into the open. So for us, it would be really worth it for us to spend some time here and see if there's any changes. Oh, there she's just laying down. Let's see if we can see the little ones just on the other side. Maybe we'll have to zoom in a little bit. I don't think I can see any of the youngsters unless they're laying down. Oh, is there movement? Is that a ear at the back, or is that her tail? Just have a look. Oh, I can actually see the young cubs. You can just see it. Yeah, see where her ear is? Just off to the left, there's a little black patch, and that's the ear of the little cub suckling. Yeah, it does. Look at that. Wow, this is just so special to see. I mean, for me, like I have seen quite a few lion cubs in the wild before, but every time I see them, it's just such an amazing experience, because to think that with lions in particular, especially with this, Marge, I do agree, it's a very special sighting to see. And what I wanted to say with that is, especially with seeing young cubs in the wild, like it's not something you see every day, but when you do see them, you always have this question that starts stirring up in you. It's like, okay, what's going to happen from here? How's the mum going to look after them? It's her first litter. Is she going to take the experience that she got from her mum and convey it over? And so there's a lot of questions that you start asking, and then you ask yourself the question. So imagine being able to see them growing up, and eventually getting to the stage where the mum is now and having their own youngsters. So it is a special, I think it's a special chapter that we are able to see and write. So for now, we are going to spend some time. We'll let everyone know as soon as there's been any changes. But for now, let's head across to Tristan for an update.
Well, hopefully you will be able to get a better view of the cub, but well done, Nikki, in finding what you were looking for this morning. We're still looking. We found the tracks for this male. We crossed behind where that Impala was snorting and went over the road into the next block, and now I'm just trying to figure out where exactly he's gone. Looks like his tracks are on top of our vehicle from this morning on this road, so I'm just trying to see where he went. There he is on the right hand side, kind of going up the road. So I'm hoping that he's kind of been milling about in this area and is maybe trying to hunt these impalas that are in this section. There's lots of rutting going on around this area, and so it's a good place if you're a leopard to be hunting. But there we go, there's his tracks. Okay, let's check. There's a little water point that's very well hidden here that not many people know about. It's tucked away inside the block just behind this mound here. So we're just going to quickly check inside here and just see if maybe, just maybe, there's still water there. I suspect it should be dry by now, but you never know. Let's just have a double check quickly. Yes, I do, Tony. Leopards are far more intelligent than we give them credit for. And there's always a saying, kind of when you work with a lot of trackers, they always say, if a leopard doesn't want to be found, you won't find it. So sometimes they know they're being followed, and Tandi in particular, you can see she'll move around and she'll do things in ways that will kind of make things almost impossible to find her. Sometimes you get lucky and you kind of bump into her, but she'll often walk in loops around you. You find her tracks on... Oh, that's quite pretty. There's a golden orb web that's catching the light. And you'll find her tracks have kind of crossed behind you, then you go back and they're crossing again. And so sometimes they don't want to be found, and they'll do everything they can not to be found. So I think they're very aware if they hear a vehicle coming or they feel like something is following them. Sometimes they'll even spot you before you spot them and able to kind of creep around and sort of hide in plain sight. But how pretty is that golden orb web? You can see the orb web in the middle there, big female. This will be the last few of them that we'll start to see. They're going to start disappearing in the next little bit, particularly now that the temperature has dropped the way that it has and gotten so much cooler. Unfortunately, these guys won't be around for too much longer, but it's so nice when you see these beautiful big webs, because they do produce massive webs, these guys. That particular one is probably, I would say, if you take the anchor lines in, is probably about 7 foot from the left to the right. So it's a large web. And then you get this kind of gold iridescent sheen on it, particularly when it's backlit. It's absolutely beautiful to see. Obviously not so pretty when you get that slapping into your face. Exactly, Emma. At least when you're walking, you can see it quite clearly. They're pretty good about placing some sort of marker, like a thickened area in the middle so that you can see it. But when you're driving, you sometimes don't see them, and then you get this golden web plastered across your face, and it is so incredibly sticky, and it takes a whole bunch of time to like peel it off your face. It's not very pleasant at all, and hopefully there's no spider attached when it's plastered onto you. And if it gets onto your clothes, it can also be a nightmare to get off. It often leaves like a little sticky residue on your clothes once you kind of have gone through it. Beautiful though, isn't it? All right, let's have a look at this little water hole. It's just on my left-hand side here. There is still water here, so I just want to have a quick check. There was a knob-billed duck female that flew away when we got here, so it's not to say there isn't a cat around, because they'll often just sit if there is a female around. But there's a little water point there. Don't see anything lying up at it. And now from where this is, from where we heard that Impala alarm call, is probably about 200 meters, 300 meters, not far at all. And so I thought maybe, just maybe, given that water over there was so dirty and such poor quality, that maybe this leopard has come this direction to come and see if it can get some sort of a drink over here. But alas, it does not seem like there is a leopard sitting, waiting patiently for us. Oh well. We'll have to just have a little look around, maybe lying up in the thickets somewhere around here. It's starting to get a lot warmer, so I suppose they'll start to think about lying down. Shrivant, well, yeah, I mean, the greenery is the biggest thing. It's obviously drying out quite a lot. The other changes are that the seep lines are no longer active or running like they were. So when I was here last time, the seep areas were streaming with water pouring out of the various seeps on the property. And so far, I mean, I haven't driven too many of the seep lines, but the one or two that I have gone past are not showing any sign of seeping. So that a lot of the little mud wallows that were full of water have disappeared. Temperature has changed. Certain trees, leaves are starting to turn color a little bit. But it's really interesting that this particular area is a lot greener than where I live, which is not only an hour away, or hour and a half away. Up there, so north of us, it's much, much, much drier. It looks already like the middle of winter. Most of the bush willows have already changed color and have gone yellow, and the leaves are starting to fall. So it's already a lot greener here. But you can see that winter's taking hold and we're starting to get a massive change in this particular area. All right, no sign of our leopard at this particular water point, so we're going to keep having a little scratch around. It's got to be here somewhere, so a bit of perseverance and luck will help us. In the meantime, though, it sounds like Nicky is still with the lion cubs, and so he's had a good, lucky morning, and his perseverance has paid off.
So just earlier on we could see the little one moving his head, but he hasn't gotten up yet, and I think also like after suckling probably fast asleep. Because with these youngsters we estimate them probably to be close to 6 weeks, roundabout. So they're still very, very young. It'll be interesting to see, I mean, with it warming up now, Mom might still lay there for quite a while, but it'll be interesting to see if she gets up, if they're going to get up and then follow her back into her little den site. So her den site is really just a thick cluster of trees, and some of the trees actually have horrible thorns on it. And I think that's such an ideal place for her to hide them away. So she'll keep them here for the next little while before she probably starts moving them again. But you can see even with her, she's probably fast. She was just have a look from where she is now. Look at how dense that area is, just right off next to her. But if we zoom back onto her, you'll notice that even with her ears aren't moving at the moment, so she's also probably fast asleep. So she came out earlier, probably called the little ones because we could see some tracks, so she was... and then from there on, she probably just came, made sure it was safe, called the youngsters, and then laid down. She could have gone the whole evening, probably looked for something to eat. I don't know if she's been successful, could have been, maybe not. But you have a very good question about the males and the females, especially the young cubs. So it is hard to tell the difference. The only way that we can do it is just basically looking between the legs. And sometimes you won't be able to do it until they get to 6 weeks and older, without actually being able to judge it. But when it comes to their facial appearances, normally from close to a year you'll be able to really see if it's a male or female, because the males often they tend to grow a little bit faster than the females, and they slowly start to develop a mane, so there's a little bit of long hair underneath the chin and on the neck, but normally only from a year and a half is when from a year on to a year and a half is when you can clearly start seeing it. But what we estimate, so this is, I've spoken to Rowan about it because he had a better look at the youngsters the other day, and he reckons that it could possibly be a young male and female. I'm not too sure. I think I'll probably be able to make the call once we were able to see it and accurately be able to judge it. But I do know that also with Rowan's experience, the chances are that he's probably right on that. So we'll have to give it some time, though. I mean, from my side, I won't just make the call unless I'm 100% certain with those youngsters. And it's also just such a nice place that she decided to lay down. So she's actually on a bit of an embankment there, so which gives, of course, quite a wide view of what's going on around her. It's fairly open, so she can see if there's any possible danger and possibly get the youngsters into that den before the danger even gets there. But also it gives her a vantage point to be able to spot and see if there's any potential food. Now directly behind her, but I don't know if she'll be able to notice it, behind us there's actually a kudu crossing the river. Now she might not be able to see it because the wind's actually blowing from the kudu towards her, and that kudu might not be able to see this lion. But it'll be interesting to see if the kudu moves into an area where the scent blows onto her, if she'll be able to pick up her head. Because even when a lion sleeps like that and it looks like she's not aware what's going on around, as soon as there's any foreign smell or maybe even a very odd sound, she'll immediately pick up her head. So while we're going to see what's happening here, let's head across to Lauren.
Hi, I'm just watching a catwalk. We've got some Egyptian geese modelling for us, and it's rather entertaining because they look really good. Look at them. That's how you catwalk, everyone. As if I would know how you catwalk, but I believe it's something like that. Now, Davi scolded me because I completely forgot to tell you the Tandi update. I'm sorry, it slipped my mind when I saw the confusion of guinea fowl. I got confused. Oh, I'm on fire today, am I? They crossed into Torchwood at opposite the central junction. Tandi and two little cup tracks have gone back into Torchwood. So they obviously came onto Djuma last night. James and Davi got incredibly lucky and gone back east. But we know where she's crossing. She appears to come out of Torchwood and into Torchwood at the same sort of junction. So we just need to keep an eye on it. I've let the people in Torchwood know, so fingers crossed they can find her. Now, I also saw a huge male lion track come in, and I think it's the same lion that Tristan was following up on this morning. So they came in from Twin Dams, most likely went up and around. But I just want to quickly check my pan, Lauren's pan, because we keep talking about the changes in season and how winter's coming. But it is coming slowly, I must say. And this place just feels so empty. It used to be so noisy. I could never hear myself think. The chatter of the weavers. All those nests are just hanging empty. Most likely they'll just biodegrade and fall into the pan and rot away. This water is just the volume. It's getting less. Davi and I used to come here and spend hours looking for the dragonflies. I can't even see one. Can you see any dragonflies, Dav? No. Me neither. And it's just a change in the season. Summer comes, summer goes, and it's definitely going. It's rather sad to watch, but of course, it's a natural seasonal change. But I haven't seen one single weaver in a very long time. Buddy, you're asking where the weavers go. I believe they're intra-African migrants. I'm just going to check that though, which means they probably all go to different parts of Africa. I'm going to choose the southern masked weaver. That's one of my favourite ones. Yes, they're intra-African migrants, which means once summer ends, they'll travel back somewhere within the continent of Africa. Some of them may even stay here within South Africa. They're just not active, they're not loud, they're not trying to advertise themselves to the ladies anymore. They're small birds, they definitely don't travel that far. So within Africa, I imagine the southern parts of Africa, they will return. I don't think all weavers are actually migratory. Some of them are residents as well. So I think, I'm just going to quickly check the time. Yes, we have enough time to check on Rib Robs with her little ribs and her little robs. It's been rather quiet out here with so much hope of Tandi. Hopefully she will come back. Both Tristan and I, I'm sure, will work very hard on locating her again. But that lion definitely came in this way. So he came from the south, walked past camp, and then obviously crossed out west. The Nkuhumas are on a big fat buffalo on Simbambili, and they hunted it during the day, and the photos are somewhere on the World Wide Web of the Nkuhumas taking down this buffalo, all cubs involved. Can you believe it? The minute they leave Djuma, they take down a buffalo. But I'm glad though, because summer has been so nutritious and the vegetation is so plentiful and full, what that does mean is that the buffaloes will be in good condition. The buffaloes will be healthy, so that the Nkuhumas, the lions with mange, they will be eating really good food source, getting lots of nutrients, and therefore they've got a better chance of fighting the mange. I think our cubbies will be absolutely fine. So as I head to the hyena den, we are going to send you back across to the one and only Mr. Dix.
Well, I'm not sure I would describe fresh leopard scat as beautiful, but it certainly is a positive sign, and it's about as fresh as one could ask for. It's still glistening, as you can see there. It hasn't lost its shine at all, and is soft and stinky, that's for sure. And this is pretty much on top of where we drove this morning. So whatever's going on this morning is really starting to become quite funny. The fact that we're just obviously looping around these cats and they're right next to us somewhere. And I say cats because there is multiple leopard tracks here. I'll show you now quickly what there is. So this particular poo has been made by a female. So her track is, hold on, I'm going to get a stick so that I can show you all of this. So this is her over here. These are her back feet where she would have stood and then lowered her tail end to defecate over here. But as I say, this is very, very fresh. It's still soft, as you can see. If I poke it, it kind of breaks apart and it's still very, very shiny. It's probably quite warm as well. So we're not going to venture too close to that. We're not going to touch it. But then coming up the road with her is a male track over here. So there's a male that's been walking here, a female, and I reckon there's actually two different females and another track for a male. So what's actually going on, I'm not quite sure. We're going to try and figure it out and see what happens. But she defecated here facing straight this way. There's a game path that goes back to where we had that Impala alarm calling earlier. The male track goes back up this way. And like I say, this is all on top of our vehicle tracks from earlier this morning. So there is definitely leopards in this little section. We've just got to be able to try and find them now. And that poo is as fresh as we could ask for. So hopefully they will emerge somewhere now. I wonder if maybe that's why we've been battling, is maybe the male is following the female and potentially she doesn't want to be mated, or nervous of the male. I don't know, but it could explain why we're struggling with trying to kind of pick them up and you know, actually catch up with them. I haven't heard any sound of mating though, so I don't think they are actually mating. The nice thing with leopards when they do mate is they're noisy, and so that makes life very easy for you. You end up kind of hearing them quite quickly, and if they're in the height of mating, well then you'll hear it almost every sort of 5 minutes. So I don't think that they're mating, but they're certainly the male kind of on the top of the female's tracks a lot of the places, and she's up and down all over. So definitely lots going on. All right, so I'm going to try and figure out what's going on and see if we can actually catch up with one of them. And while we do that, let's send you back across to Nikki, who doesn't have to worry about a thing because he's still got his Lioness and cub.
So you'll see there's the two youngsters that we can see now. The one's head is just off to the left in the bit of the grass. You'll see just a black patch, and then the other one, you can just see the ear still suckling on mom. Now earlier on, the one, I think they were having a little bit of a tussle to see who can get more milk, and the one just like pushed the other one off. But it will be interesting to see if we give it some time now, if they'll get up. You can just see the heads moving a little bit more now. So probably woke up after a bit of a sleep and now suckling again. I think the other one had his like nice full, so now he's just laying off to the side. See how that one is just twisting. You can see the black behind the ears now. So it's so peaceful at the moment in this riverbed because all you can hear is the distant call of a ring-necked dove, just a sound that we can hear, and then otherwise there's barely anything. But I do agree with all the viewers. We've had a discussion the other day, or yesterday, in regards to probably what are some of the cutest or most adorable of all the small animals. And I would say probably 95% will raise their hands and say that probably lion cubs are the most adorable when they're young. And especially how playful they can be. You'll see after having a good suckle, they often tend to play with each other, especially at the age that they are now, and going forward. Because also they don't have to worry too much of needing to move around in order to find food. Or they just know as soon as mom comes back, they're getting a good drink give them some energy to play around, and by doing that, they're actually getting stronger and stronger by the day. Rebecca, very good question. I would say normally what happens with young lion cubs is from the age of round about, let's say, 2 months is when they'll start being able to if a mom opens up a carcass, they'll start licking the blood and they'll tear little chunks of meat off the carcass. But it's only going to be round about from 6 months onwards where they're going to take big chunks of meat out. But also if whatever the mom might have killed during that time, if the skin is too thick, they might not be able to open it because their teeth aren't too well developed at that stage. So mom has to open it up and then they'll start feeding from there. But I have seen lion cubs a little bit older than this. So let's say we think that they're around about 6 weeks. So from 2 months or another 2 weeks or so, I have seen lion cubs before at andBeyond Pinder, where the mom opened up the carcass and these youngsters actually went and they licked the area where the mom opened up so that they can get the blood as well as little bits of meat. They try to tear it off. Of course, their teeth aren't too well developed from there on, but I have seen it before from around about 2 months onwards where it has occurred. Now, just to show everyone, while we're waiting to see if these youngsters are going to get up, I just want to show you the map of the area and show you what our plans are going to be going forward. I just want to think out loud here. So, currently, just to move here and then we'll put the camera back. I'm going to try and keep it in such a way that the shade won't be on this, or what would be the better just to try and see if we can focus. Okay, there we go. So we are currently, just to give you an idea, so we're in the riverbed right over here at the moment. So we've explored pretty much this whole section right over here. Roan and Sean were exploring this section here, and they were heading down this direction for the rest of the pride. Now, apparently, they found some tracks of the pride here, and it's going in the westerly direction, so it's actually moving away from us. So I was thinking maybe for this afternoon, so this morning, we'll spend some time with this female, because from where we are to get there, will probably take us an hour to get there. So by that time, the game drive is going to be done. So I'd rather let us focus on her and see these youngsters, see if we can get a glimpse of them, and maybe this afternoon we can focus to the rest of the pride and maybe see if we can find them as well as that young male that has that injured leg and see if he's still doing all right. But for now, I think let's spend some time with her and these youngsters, because this is a really special sighting to see. I mean, this is not something that everyone would always see, but it is, and that's why we say it's a special sighting, because it's. So while we spend some time with her, just see if she's going to lift up her head. You can see how she's just curling herself in. It might just be a little stretch. If she does, just turn around. Wonder if she just doesn't have a little itch. No, I think she was just giving herself a little stretch. But I think while we spend some more time with her and see if the youngsters come out, let's head across to Lauren, who's looking for a hyena.
Ribbon was not there, everyone. So sad. Oh, if Ribbon's not at the den, then life does not feel normal. She's obviously up to her old tricks. There's hyena tracks everywhere. I do feel like I'm missing something. I feel like the hyenas are onto something that I have not yet discovered. But she's not at the den, so we have to leave. You can't stay at the den without Ribbon. I mean, why would you want to stare at a termite mound? I mean, it could be fun for 5 minutes, but they probably would wear thin. And the cubs most likely at this age would not come out. They wait until they hear mum's call. Ribbon calls them out vocally, and they will not come out. Even if I was to go and sit at the entrance of the den, which I would never do, they would still not come out. They wait until they hear Mama, who is of course Ribbon and not myself. And when they get a little bit older, once they're over 3 months, they will start to become a little bit naughty and they will come out the den when they're not supposed to. Oh, we've got some head-butting impalas. Can we get a view from here, Davy, or shall I go closer? We saw you guys. I have a bachelor herd here, which is quite unusual for this season. Now they're young boys. Look at that. Oh, that's an older one. It's an older boy surrounded by young boys. He's not quite accomplished. Oh, the fight's happening here, Davy. There's this one. These ones are headbutting. Let's keep watching. Oh, that looked more like, oh, that was a little kiss. I feel like these boys are not sure what to do with each other. Do we fight? Do we hang out like bros? Do we act dominant? Looks like a wrestling match between the three of them is about to take off. Okay, now I'm going to keep exploring to see what else I can find for the remainder of the drive, but it appears that Nikki's lions are up and about.
So this Lioness just picked up her head now, and the youngsters moved around. So it'll be interesting to see if she's going to get up, or if they are going to come around to the front. But so I haven't seen these youngsters in the open yet, so it'll be also my first time, like the viewers. Or I mean, some of the viewers have actually seen more than I have, so I'm a little bit jealous when it comes to that. However, I think we're going to get rewarded soon. I hope so. I'm crossing my fingers and hoping so. And I hope all the viewers are doing it at the same time, even if it's just. I don't know if, I think most of the viewers probably seen it, but I haven't, so it'd be amazing to see these youngsters. Oh, look. See the two actually playing at the back. So now I'm just hoping they start. Oh, look. Please, just come forward. Actually, a really good question. I would say sometimes with the rest of the pride, I've seen this before as well in some areas. If the mom introduces, so if she doesn't move away and give birth and then bring them into the pride once they're a little bit bigger, then often you find that the other members of the pride might play too rough with them and actually kill those youngsters. So the mom has to be very careful on when to introduce them to the rest of the pride. And if it's done at the wrong time, unfortunately they won't make it, especially if there's some older youngsters there from a year on, because they don't necessarily know how to play gently with those youngsters. So that's one of the reasons why. And also, I think being with the rest of the pride, especially if there's a kill and the youngsters try to get in there, there might be a good chance that as one snaps at them, that they could potentially seriously injure or even kill those youngsters. So I think the mom, the reason why she's taking them away and bringing them back is to ensure the highest possible level of survival for these youngsters. Just see how the two are tussling with each other in the back there. See, Mom is just scanning around now. James Richard, I think probably within the next 2 or 3 weeks, that's when she'll introduce them. So normally they use an estimate. I mean, it's not always to the exact day, but they normally work around 2 months, is what most people have recorded and most people have done research on in terms of when they actually introduce them to the pride. So you can imagine now, at the age that they are still, it does look like they're small, and it's almost, she'll start introducing them to the rest of the pride once they are able to keep up with the pride. So I think another 2, maybe 3 weeks, and you'll see they'll grow a lot in the next few weeks as well. but I would say a very good estimate will probably be in the next 3 or 4 weeks, or maybe 2-3 weeks. And I wonder, for me, one of my questions that I have towards, or trying to figure out is, so yesterday when we saw her coming down, it did look like she was pretty skinny. So in other words, I don't know if she had a meal maybe a while ago, or maybe last night she was very successful and might have caught something and then came back early today. So it'd be interesting to see. I'm just hoping to see her standing so we can have a look at that. But she is doing very well. I mean, considering that this is her first litter. Oh, look there. So let's see if this youngster, oh, there we go. Let's see if he's gonna, or she's gonna come back up and go back to mom. So just trying to, I think we've just lost signal, so I don't know if we can communicate with everyone to know what's going on. So we're just trying to reconnect all our connections, and then be able to hear if there was any other questions. So while we're going to spend some more time with this female, see if the youngsters come back out again, let's head across to Lauren with some elephants.
We've came across a older bull. Now I haven't seen his left ear yet, but I'm wondering if this is the older bull that we see regularly with the torn ear. He's a gentleman, that one. He's very old, and he's always sort of traveling the roads in this area. Might not be him. Very, very relaxed bull. I haven't had a look at the old penis sheath either, so I haven't seen if he's dribbling. Hello, boy. Oh. I'm gonna give that poor tree a little shake. That poor marilla. I think we're actually trying to push the whole tree over. Hello, boy.
Yours, baby, yours.
It is him, everyone. It's him. It's this bull. This lovely, lovely, gentle bull. He's in must. He's streaming. It's him. I don't know what he's trying to do. Oh, my goodness. Mr. Elephant, you're going to take down this whole tree. Hello, handsome. You have a really special place in my heart. I see this bull all the time. You see his left ear is torn. He's lovely. I think he's older from his size and his behaviours. I do think he's a gentleman. I do think he's 40 plus. He's huge. He's very relaxed with our presence. He's scratching his bum. Nikki, I agree with you. Wow, the power. Never underestimate the power of an elephant. The strength. Got so much muscle mass behind that body. It's so lovely to see him. You normally find that once they get over 40, they tend to relax and be able to control their hormones a little bit better, and they're not as naughty or boisterous. So I'm going to stay with my bull, but I believe Tristan has got an elephant bull of his own.
I do indeed. I've got a little young male that is milling about, feeding, as I suppose Ellies do. But nice to see Ellies again. It's one of the animals that I certainly have missed. Obviously leopards first and foremost, but these guys a close second. Absolutely love spending time with Ellies, and I find that sitting with them is probably one of the most relaxing things that you could do. It's kind of just, you end up drifting a little bit and you become quite immersed in just being around them and watching them go about their business. So super happy to have found a young bull this morning. Unfortunately, our leopards played a lovely game with us today, and they have crossed into some umbili, both of them, on top of our vehicle track. So we were just driving circles around them, and it was just north of where we had that Impala alarm calling, so we just went the wrong direction. Now watch this Ellie bull. You see his head has just gone up, and that's because he's going to chase, I'm pretty sure he's going to chase some of the other animals that are around here. There's a kudu and some wildebeest that are on their way in his direction, and often what you'll find is young bulls like this get cheeky and they do chase other animals, which is naughty, but it does happen. And he's busy sniffing and carrying on as well. I wonder if maybe he's also not picking up the sign of a herd. Here he comes. Hello, boy. Isn't this cool? Yes, lots of cheekiness is very, very true. You can see his tail is out straight. That's always an indication of an Ellie that is going to be either full of nonsense and is a little bit kind of hyped up. And so when ears are out and you have those tails straight out like that, is generally when they're quite alert. And it's probably due to the movement around him. Like I say, there's us, then there's wildebeest behind him at the moment, then there's Kudu off to his back right. So there's a lot going on around him, and being on his own, they can sometimes be a little bit more kind of alert as to what's going on. Are you giving us side-eye, boy? But you can see he's definitely sniffing. I wonder, like I say, if there isn't some other Ellies around. They often do this when they are trying to pick up the scent of a herd, is they put their trunk up like that, and especially if there's a bit of a breeze blowing, and they can then pick up what's going on. And when we were coming down this way, I actually saw tracks for a few other bull Ellies in the area, so maybe he's trying to just kind of track them down. BK, let me reverse for you so that you can get a clearer picture, because there's going to be a whole bunch of trees in the way. What we're going to do actually is we're going to reverse all the way back and just get onto another road, because he's going to cut the other road shortly. So it'll be easier for us to do that rather than following from behind. Go. Perfect. Megan, you say he's just welcoming me back. Well, very nice of him to welcome me back. I don't think that's the case, but it's nice to kind of see them and spend time with them again. I'm so looking forward, and I'm really hoping that one of the big herds that we sometimes get around this area, maybe even a Fangs herd, comes through, and then just to spend some time in amongst a herd of Ellies again. It'll be the best thing. I love spending time with them, especially when you get big groupings together. Look at that swagger. I always love when Ellie bulls go down a steep slope, because they always kind of shake their head, and then you get ears all over the place, and it almost looks as though they're kind of just trying to show off a little bit and have this gangster lope to them. Anyway, our Ellie is going to disappear into a horrible thicket. We'll try to get one more view. Cacus, it's an interesting question. I don't think I've ever really paid that much attention to it or ever read anything about it, but I don't think so. I think they're much like most mammals in that their eyes move at the same time into the same direction, so I don't think they control each eye individually. I certainly have never seen a kind of squint elephant or an elephant's eyes that are going in opposite directions, not like a chameleon. So I suspect that their eyes follow the same sort of area. The interesting part about it, though, is that obviously, unlike us, they don't have eyes on the front of their head, so they're not having binocular vision. Their eyes are on the side of their head, and so you would think that there would be a situation where they would be able to move them independently, because they're not really crossing the field of view with each eye. Their eyes are sort of so separated that they won't actually be able to kind of see the same image with each eye. So you would think that they would be able to move them independently, but I certainly have never noticed it. Most of the time when Ellies look at you, their eyes are always in the same direction. So even from front on, when they kind of lift their head and stare at you, both eyes will be facing in the same direction. I've never seen them moving them independently from one another. So yeah, interesting though. It'd be good to kind of watch and pay attention to that. But like I say, I certainly have never seen it, and I've spent a fair number of years with elephants. In fact, it's been the sort of last 12 years of following these guys around, so it would be something that you would notice if their eyes were to kind of change. Alright, our bull Ellie is going to disappear shortly into, like I say, quite a dense, thick block. So we're probably going to leave it there. We might go and catch up with those kudu that are close by. It looked like there was a nice bull there. And so in the meantime, let's send you back across to the lions with Nikki, and hopefully that little cub will emerge.
So this female just basically moved into a bit of cover, but you can see her head is constantly up. Now, we don't want to move at all to try and get a better view, and I'll tell you why. Because we're thinking she might have spotted the kudu behind us. So basically what we try and do is just be as quiet as possible, that if she does decide she wants to use this as an opportunity, possibly look at that kudu. Because when she stood up, it didn't look like she had eaten anything this morning, or maybe even into the evening. So we'll have to give it a bit of time. But of course, we don't just want to try and move forward. You can see the youngsters there at the moment. But look at how she's just moved into a bit of cover, and she might just be using this as an opportunity just to observe and assess the opportunity, see if it's really worth it. Because for her as well, she knows that if she exposes herself, that might be the meal gone for the day. But also the other challenge she has is, I'm going to ask Owen just to zoom out a little bit so you can see the river from where we are now. So have a look at this whole river bank in front of us. So she needs to cover this whole open area before she can eventually head to where she saw this kudu. So the chances are she might just give it an opportunity and wait for the kudu to cross over before she can attempt it. Or else they might just spot her and they move off. Zach, I agree with you. Yes, it would be an amazing sighting to see. But you can see in her whole behavior, she's definitely interesting. And the thing is, with lions, they mainly hunt in the early parts of the morning, late at night, into the evening, when they are not as obvious, or they're not as they don't stand out as much. But the thing is, with lions being so opportunistic, they just never know when the next meal is going to be. So if the occasion was there for them to hunt at 12 o'clock in the day, they'll do it. Any opportunity they can use, they'll take, especially also being a mother, probably haven't had a meal in the last 2-3 days. So that hunger will probably try and drive her to use that opportunity. So let's spend some time here and see. It might eventually be the kudus might move off, and she could have just used this opportunity to move the youngsters away. It might have been an elephant in the distance she heard beyond the kudu, and she decided, let me just move the youngsters into a bit of cover so that if need be, she can just take them into there. I haven't heard any elephants or anything nearby, but of course their hearing is a lot better than ours. You can see she is relaxing a bit more, eyes are closed. It might have been a kudu or something and it's moved off, and now she's just probably going to spend the next little while, see if there's any other opportunity. So we'll spend some more time here. Hopefully something could happen from here. If not, we'll definitely keep everyone updated. But for now, let's head across to Lauren with that elephant.
Still got the same bull. Now he repositioned, so we've actually repositioned because you don't want to block an elephant's path. So we're not on the roads anymore. We've kind of pulled up to the side, and he snapped a branch of this marula. So loud. This is the same bull from yesterday, everyone. Torn ear. I recognize him so well. Look at his penis. I'm sorry, I know it doesn't sound very pleasant. It's green. It's dripping, it's leaking, and it's starting to go green. He's a much older bull and must, and he can handle it. He can handle the rise in testosterone, which is said to be up to 60 times more than normal. He's streaming from his temporal glands, and that is said to be quite painful for them. So those temporal glands that are just set behind the eye can leak. They'll swell during must, and it can actually really be painful, almost like a constant headache for the male. And that's exactly why they can get angry sometimes. Listen to him crunching. You are a magnificent boy. I am in awe of you and how gentle you are. Now everyone, if you do wish to continue watching our safaris, you're welcome to support us. You can head over to wildearth.tv/support, and there's an option there for you to support us if you wish. We need your help to keep going, and of course we want to keep going. We want to document this journey, especially going into winter with the cubbies and all the characters that we have. Now he's facing us again, so I'm just going to turn around, make sure I've got eye contact. Hello, boy. I think he's extremely hungry. Oh, hello. Not displaying any aggressive behaviors. We're just going to let him feed for now. He's gorgeous. He's listening to us, but the tail is still swooshing at the back. You're saying, oh my gosh, he's so close. Yes, he is. The dust from the grass is going into my eyes. But his tail's swooshing. His ears are flat against his head. Hello. He's less than a meter away from the car, everyone. Less than a meter. Yesterday, excuse our antenna in the area, and then he came back for a little sniff of us. I'm just gonna keep my eye on him. We of course can't move the car anyway. He's got his trunk up, he's having a good smell. You see all the dried up salt on the tear duct area of his eye. He's really, really in the middle of must. Like Sweep, you're saying this is just so cool, isn't it? It's so magical. He's so gentle, this elephant. Still right here. He's just inspecting us. He's okay. He's just really enjoying the grass. Davi's moving very, very slowly. Look how much he's dribbling, Davi. Look how much he's dribbling. That's a lot of urine, everyone. He's in the peak of must. That's a lot of urine. And that's what they are dribbling. Sounds bizarre. I know, but it is just urine at the end of the day. And it's almost like marking fluids of leopards. He's leaving his trail behind, his scent, so that the females can smell him and they can find him. The female can smell the bull and say, oh, there's a must bull around and we want to find him. And they'll do that through following his scent. I think this is my favourite elephant of all the elephants. I really love this bull. I love wild dogs. I love wild dogs too. Yes, he's so gentle. He's aware of us. He's been aware of us for a long time now. He can hear us. He can smell us. He knows we're here. We're not threatening him. We're not blocking his path. He's decided to come all the way back round and join us. He could have walked away by now, everyone, but he didn't. For being in the middle of must as this boy is, he's a true gentleman. The smell, oh, so strong. Gemma, you're asking if bulls get dehydrated during must. Not really. They're able to pull in so much water at one stop to a water hole. So an adult bull can pull in around 12 litres of water in one pool with their trunk when they visit water holes. So they've got large bladders, of course, look at the size of them, and they're able to store quite a lot of water. They do visit water holes every single day, so they just continually top up that fluid that they're losing. They won't allow themselves to become dehydrated. Oh, wasn't that amazing? It's just like yesterday. It's exactly the same scenario. That was amazing for Davi and I. Now we are going to leave him now. He's chosen to walk off, so we're going to go the other way. But while we do that, we're going to send you back across to Tristan with some antelope.
we have got what can only be described as a rather odd situation. As you can see, there's a kudu that is currently, well, dressing up and is showing a flair for, I don't even know what, actually, in his attempt to impress a female. As you can see, he's got an entire branch wedged over his neck. And how this happened is because there was another bull kudu that was obviously going after a female in estrus, and he went chasing after that bull and then went back to the female and walked under a branch, and the branch broke as he was trying to get his horns through, and is then kind of neatly sat over his shoulders, and it looks like he's kind of got his little winter scarf on as he walks around and struts his stuff. It's not exactly ideal because it's going to get caught on all kinds of things, but it certainly makes him look quite sort of stately and as though he's important, and hopefully that will... Exactly, fashion is pain, Emma, you're right. This is what it takes to mate with a female. Well, I suppose that's what he'll do, but I'm quite intrigued as to how he's going to get it off. I suspect it will be just walking through thickets that another branch will kind of grab it and it will sort of displace it, but at the moment it's just kind of perfectly sitting around his shoulders. Look, isn't that cool? Honestly, I've never ever seen a branch sit so perfectly on a kudu's neck. Now you can see he's also trying to mount the female. She's obviously in estrus. It's a nice kind of grouping, and most of the females have little ones, but I suspect this female is in heat. And it was super interesting just now watching him chase the other male away. As soon as the male would come anywhere near this female, he would go trotting after it, and he's much, much larger than what the other male was. BK, I think I'm going to go back for you just to try and give you a little bit more of a chance to be able to actually see him. And her, should I say, because they're kind of moving behind us. So, Joy in Hong Kong, you say he's branching out quite. He certainly has decided to take things to a different level, and maybe this will be the new trend in the kudu world, is the winter fashion this year will be a silver cluster leaf branch draped over the shoulders, not only to provide one with instant camouflage wherever it goes, but also to impress the ladies and to try and kind of dominate the other men around the area. Maybe that's what it's going to be. It's going to be like a status symbol for this particular kudu, but it's crazy how perfectly that little branch is sitting. But like I said, it's nothing to be concerned about. I mean, maybe some of you might be worried that this kudu is never going to get it off. I highly doubt that. The one nice thing about being a kudu is that you have long, big, twirly horns, and they're pretty dexterous with those things. So maybe just kind of, if he moves his horns a little bit, he may be able to hook that branch and kind of just throw it off to the side. But he seems quite happy with it. It's not like he's kind of trying to rub it off or anything like that. He seems as though he's pretty enamored with his little accessory that he has today. Now, of course, they were walking in this direction where it's nice and open, but have now stopped behind the bush, so we're going to have to just be patient and wait for him to come out. It's ridiculous. Nice to see a big herd of kudu, though. It's been a while since I've seen lots of little ones and females and males. Oh goodness, the puns have started from Final Control as well, so while I kind of sit here and endure much suffering of puns from... there we go. Apparently we're not going anywhere because signal was lost, so you are staying with us. Come on, you two. Emerge from your little thicket. I suppose they do want privacy, given that he is trying to mate with her. The problem is that there's a little one there with them, which is not very sporting at all. So they're going to have to go and find another place in order to do things in the privacy of, just themselves, really. BK, I'm going to go forward again because... Oh, no, wait, there we go. They're coming out. This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen on an animal. What are you doing? Like I say, you see, he's not even worried about it. BK, let's go forward, sorry. It's going to be better if we go forward. That's crazy. Like I said, I've seen some strange things in the bush before, but this is one of the oddest things I've seen with a kudu. So, not really in the mammal world. It's in the bird world, yes. They do all kinds of crazy things to attract mates, like building little structures and displaying, and there's birds that even form little choirs and all kinds of things. But in the mammal world, it's not generally like that. Normally, it's a size element that kind of is what impresses the females, and it's not really about doing funny stuff like this. And this is a complete accident. This is not something that he planned to do. He certainly didn't run to the branch and break it and place it over his neck. He didn't have it on him at all until about 30 seconds before you guys kind of came to us. It just kind of happened, and it broke and landed perfectly. Normally what would have happened with a branch like that is it would have landed on his back in an odd angle and just fallen straight off. But this one has perfectly kind of gone over the neck, and what I like about it is that it's quite a leafy branch, and so on both sides it's got this kind of extra bit of mass, and I wonder if this is going to be more intimidating towards other males or more attractive to females. It'll be interesting, you know, because if you think of something like a lion's mane, bigger maned males generally are more successful when it comes to mating. So it would be interesting to see if this becomes a thing that intimidates others or gives him a chance to mate with more females. But it is probably one of the most ridiculous things that I have seen on a male kudu. You see sometimes buffalo like this and ellies, but if they've been wading around in areas with lots of marshy plants and reeds and things like that, but I've never seen it on a kudu, and never quite like this. So it's pretty cool. He's an impressive boy, though. Anyway, right, we're going to carry on sitting with these guys. I want to see if he actually gets it off. In the meantime, though, we're going to send you back across to andBeyond Ngala and see what Nikki's up to on that side of the world.
So earlier on, remember we said that she was looking at some Impala, but some Kudu, but she's lost quite a bit of interest, and now she's just laying down enjoying that last little bit of sun. And I think for now it is starting to slowly warm up. I can see Owen even had to take his jacket off, and I don't think it's going to be too long from here. It might be the next 20 minutes, half an hour before she eventually gets up, and then she'll probably move into that dense area behind her and settle down for the day until later on this afternoon before she'll come out again. But you can see just off a little bit off to her right, there's her youngsters. They are suckling again, so she's just maneuvered in a very comfortable spot for herself. It's hard to see. Now and then you'll see the one paw moving or the head moving of the youngster. You can actually see the back. It's like a greyish color, grey with a bit of spots. And what's quite special for me with this female as well is, so I used to guide up at andBeyond Pinder for quite a few years, and I think after a year and a half of guiding, I did a swap with one of the rangers here at Ngala, and then once I got here, I went out on drive, and this mother was still a subadult, so she was probably around just over a year old. There's the cub coming up. And for me, it is just so special to see, like, a few years later coming back, and here she is the mother, and here I can have a look at her youngsters, where she was a youngster when I saw her the very first time. Super, they do sometimes have ticks. Not so, I haven't noticed too much the lice in that. But I do know ticks is quite a big thing, and sometimes the mother will, whenever the youngsters have a tick, the mom will lick the tick off, or even pull it. You'll see she'll gently grab the tick and then pull it off the youngster. That I have seen. I haven't seen it too much on very, very young cubs. But I have seen it on the ones once they start following the pride around, because then they move quite a bit. Now, before this, the mom was carrying them around quite a bit, so she'll move them from one area to another. But if they were a tick and it started getting a bit bigger, the mom would probably just lick it off or pull it off the youngster. But they do that. Now just behind us, I've just had another look behind us. There's a herd of Impala crossing the riverbed, but they're pretty far off, and I think that's what's just caught her attention again. But they're also pretty much in the open. I don't think this is going to be an opportunity. So for now, let's head across to Lauren with the wildebeest.
The life of a lion. The life of a wildebeest looks quite luxury as well, to be honest. I've never seen this herd of wildebeest here. We're on Zoe's, quite far from quarantine. So this definitely tells you something went down on quarantine last night. Tristan was saying he heard lots of funny noises. I'm wondering if the lion that came in from Twin Dams and walked all the way through the property, then out of the property, maybe had a little snack during the night, and that's what all the noise was. A male lion taking down an antelope of some sort, maybe an Impala, really wouldn't leave much to the imagination. It would mostly be gone. The hyenas would come, polish it off, and there'd be nothing left in the morning. Really nothing. How's it going, wildebeest? Any updates from your life? No? Okay. This wildebeest herd that we have is actually quite recent. It got bigger and bigger around December as we were doing the Christmas crew. There was just a very small herd of wildebeest, and all of a sudden more wildebeest appeared. Adults out of nowhere, and there now seems to be this great big herd that have taken over quarantine and realised it's actually quite safe there. There's hundreds of Impalas keeping their eyes and ears out and open. It's sort of an open area. We can see, we can hear. There's a lovely dam not too far away. We can get water. And I think they've very much taken up residence there. But for now, we're just going to be lazy, aren't we? But it appears that Lioness with Nikki has finally taken some interest in those Impala.
So of course it normally works like that when you try and tip at behavior, then the lioness will show you like there's a bit of a twist in the whole story, and so she's just gotten up. And I think the youngsters, I saw one moving back, so I think she might have just told told them to start moving back, because this Impala are slowly getting a little bit closer to where she is. You can actually see on her whole body language, the way she's focusing her ear forward, the way she's oftening, like you'll see often she lifts up her head to sniff the air. She might just be, as we said earlier with the Kudu, she might just be assessing the whole situation to see, is it going to be worth it or not? So you can still see there's quite a bit of the river that's off to her right. So if she does decide to hunt, see in the back there's quite a few trees, so she'll probably have to start heading towards where those trees are. Hannah, she will have to leave those cubs. So what will happen is if she decides she's going to go towards those Impala, what she will normally do is she'll just get up, and as soon as she moves, it's almost like instinctive that the cubs know that to go back into a denser area. So they'll go back into that denser area, and they know that mom is probably going to go look out for a meal. And so it's interesting to see if she gets up and starts moving, they just know they need to go back. But it'll be interesting to see what's going to happen from here, because the Impala are slowly coming down the river. It might take another 5 minutes, it could take half an hour, it could take an hour, you just never know. She might use the opportunity, she might not, and I think that's one of the most amazing things about being able to spend time with an animal and just being able to see and observe their behavior. You'll notice she hasn't taken her eyes off from those Impala, and she might also be sizing up the whole group of them and seeing, okay, which one maybe might have an injury. So, I know a few of the viewers are asking, isn't it too warm to hunt at the moment now? Most likely she wouldn't just start going from here, and it's also very exposed. I mean, she's directly looking into the sun, and those Impalas are looking down towards where she is. So if she had to move, they will immediately spot her from this distance. Just to give you an idea, I think they are probably close to, Owen, would you say 100 meters away? Maybe 90? Yeah, around about 90 meters away, roughly. So the chances are this won't be an opportunity if they're that far away. However, if they do get close, even if it's this warm, I mean, I'm saying it's warm, but I still have 2 jackets on, so it's not as warm as a summer day, but because of that, she'll be able to hunt, especially now, if there's an opportunity. Now, as I said, they are slowly coming this way. They're walking on the opposite side of the river, actually closer to where she is. So we don't want to move at all now, because if she's interested and we start up the vehicle, we might distract that. So we're going to stay here, not move at all until either she uses an opportunity or the opportunity passes, then we'll move from there. So we might not, if she does stand up and start moving, we might not be able to follow her, but we want to give her the best opportunity. And that's the thing, I think one thing that I've learned from a lion is that they have so much patience, because you'll see she'll just sit here for maybe half an hour, could be an hour, could be longer, and all she'll do is just observe. And Kim, I do agree. I think that the saying about the lions just laying around, isn't that also one of the Lion King's, like one of the scenes where, I think, was it Timon? That's it. The lion just lying around, I'm sure. So I think while we're still it does look like she's losing a little bit more interest at the moment. But let's hear from Tristan if he has any last minute updates for us.
Well, we're still sitting with our Kudu bull. We were hoping to kind of see what he would do with his little necklace, but he seems completely unperturbed by it. He's, as you can see, just feeding behind a bush. It's really difficult to make him out, but he's kind of in there. His horn every now and then pokes out the top of the bush, but otherwise it's just his legs that we see. And the branch is still stuck over his neck. I mean, like I say, he doesn't seem to be worried about it. He certainly isn't trying to get it off. Maybe he likes it. BK was saying to me, the wind is cold today, so it's his new fashion accessory to stay warm. Yes, I'd imagine a branchy, foliaged kind of thing around your neck might be warmer than having nothing at all. It's very trendy. I was quite impressed with him. But honestly, I'm very surprised by the fact that he is not worried about it. Normally when animals get anything kind of stuck on them, so sometimes when you see ellies with grass on their head, or, you know, buffalo, even when they've got something wedged between their horns, they try and get rid of it. They'll go rub on something and try to get it out. But this guy seems completely happy with it, which is strange. They don't normally like things around that particular area. You know, their neck is obviously a kind of sensitive spot. Come on, you two, emerge again. There he goes. Just starting to come out it seems like they like that particular bush. The rest of the herd is all kind of relaxed and is lying down and resting. But there's our little friend with his branch. It is so ridiculous. Doesn't seem to be perturbing the oxpeckers either. They seem quite happy with things. So yes, that's the next step, is to add some flowers, although wrong time of the year, isn't it? Not many flowers around. There's a few little devil thorn flowers that I've seen, the little pink ones, morning glories, hibiscus. Maybe some of those can be added, wild hibiscus flowers. That'll make things a little bit more sprightly, but not much in the way of flowers at this time of the year. All right, well, we'll kind of have one last look at him and see if he gets this off. And in the meantime, though, I'll send you back across to Lauren.
I have to say, I did drive past Tristan and I saw the kudu. Oh, wow, I can understand. Oh, Darby, look, what do we have up here? I'm not sure. I'm going to get my binos out. I actually can't get a good look at what birds these are. I thought I was giving Darby a bit of a challenge there. But it appears not. He's doing a magnificent job. Can anyone help me ID these birds? I'm looking through a very small monitor. I am going to grab my binos though. Some sort of bird of prey. Three of them soar in the skies, very, very far away, might I add. Good job, Davy. Quick link over to Nikki.
You can focus it on me, and I can just, like, if there's anything, because I can still see her. I don't.
Oh, sorry everyone, I don't quite know what happened to Nikki there, but you're back with us. I'm wondering if those birds were maybe tawnies, but they've gone. And I am being blinded by the sun. It was beautiful all the same. Now we're just doing our little last leg to quarantine. We finished most drives on quarantine, of course. And Davy and I were just talking about that bull. Davy also has fallen in love with him. He's magnificent. His nature, his energy, you feel it. You feel this bull. As soon as I know it's him, once I see that torn ear, once I can identify it's definitely that bull, and I've got the ID right, I can relax. I can almost gauge his behavior, and you should never get too complacent with elephants, especially big bulls like that. But you can gauge different personalities. For example, we had an elephant called Daryl, who was just notorious for being really, really naughty and quite troublesome. But this bull, we'll need to think of a nickname for him. What shall we call him, Darby? If anyone can think of any good nicknames, send them in, #WildEarth, and we are running out of time, but we'll go through them in the afternoon. Just a nickname, not an official name. We can't just keep calling him the big bull and must with a dribbly penis. No, I wouldn't like to be called that either. So we'll find a better name for him. So send them in and I'll read them after drive, and we'll try and find a nice nickname. Oh, Wayne, you're saying the birds were an African Harrier hawk. That would also make sense. I didn't get a good enough view, but I will quite believe you. Very possibly African Harrier hawks. So yes, that bull, his energy, you feel his presence, but you also feel his power, but you feel his gentleness. He has lots of experience, that bull, and he knows immediately we're not a threat. Not at all. And we pulled off to the side of the road so we didn't block his path, and he came to us. So I think if an animal comes to you, then you know that they're just curious. There was no signs of aggression whatsoever. So it has came to that time of day, everyone. What a scorcher of a day it's going to be. So from Nikki at andBeyond in Ngala and all of us here, we must say thank you for all your comments and questions. We really couldn't do it without you. It's great to have Tristan back, and we'll all be out this afternoon, so make sure you jump on board. Bye for now.